Probably previously, friends, we were taking this very lightly and we were doing the practice. But now the changes, if you are not knowing, if you are not updated, if you don't go through all the provisions and the impact, if you don't analyze, it will be very difficult to you. The client will be in problem. The charitable trust will be in problem. They even have to pay.
संजय को मैसेज कौन सा बताओ तो?
They even have to pay.
हाँ बी से तुम
सुरेश सर आप म्यूट
जो मैं देख पा रहे हूँ, लेकिन मैं आवाज भी को नहीं आ रही है ना, मैं आवाज सुन रही है। मैं तो डेली मीटिंग अटेंड करूँ, लेकिन पता नहीं आज क्या हो रहा है।
हाँ सर, आप कंटिन्यू कीजिए सर।
Friends, if you don't know the impact of the changes, if you don't analyze them, and if the problems are so much that the whole corpus of the fund that can be taken, such are the impact, and the whole corpus of the fund, the trust can be in danger. So first we have to learn what are the changes, and we have to analyze the impact, and accordingly while auditing those trusts, we have to take the impact of all the changes. So we brought friends, two eminent persons who are behind the guidance note. We have Suresh Kejriwal ji, who is the chairman of the session. We also have the Pramod Krishna ji, who is the expert from our region, and I can also see the Sanjay Bhattacharya sir is also there. Friends, those two persons are Akhil Jindal ji one, and other is Rajesh Mehta ji. I welcome all of you to this program, friends. I hope that this program can bring the inputs, the desired inputs, which all of us are waiting, so that there can be manthan today on this charitable trust provisions, and we can after this program we can have we are more updated, and we know all the changes, and we can serve our clients with our with the knowledge. So thank you. I would request Naveen to kindly take the things forward.
Thank you so much, Bhaiya. First of all, I would request each and every participant who is not the speaker to keep themselves muted, because I can see 20-30 people who are still unmuted. So please keep yourselves muted, because the speakers have taken a lot of pain to come here and address us. First of all, I would take the honor to introduce our first speaker, CA Dr. Akhil sir, who is a BCom Honors, FCA, ICWAI, and a PhD in Income Tax and ISA ICAI. He is the recipient of Delhi Ratan Award in professional category in 2009. He is also the recipient of Faculty Award from NIRC. Sir is in practice since 1992. He was Central Statutory Auditor for Union Bank of India or Punjab and Sindh Bank. Also, he has been a regular contributor to financial journals like Economic Times, Financial Express. He has authored several books. With these words, we all of us welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to introduce CA Rajesh sir. He is a veteran chartered accountant and the
आवाज आ रही है
for the year 2023 of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners.
आवाज आ रही है, बोल दो।
He is renowned direct tax speaker across India on issues of TDS and TCS, capital gains search and seizure, penalty and prosecution. Also, he has his articles and views on income tax provisions are frequently published in newsletters, magazines, and online tax forums. He has completed his higher secondary education and has been awarded by the then Chief Minister of Rajasthan. He has received awards at elocution and debate competitions and awarded by the then Chief Minister of Rajasthan. He has been the National Vice President of the All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, the Chairman of AIFTP-CZ, and has held several other posts. With these words, we welcome you, sir. Sir, I think you can take the proceeding ahead and enlighten all of us with your knowledge.
Suresh Bhaiya, can you hear us? I think so. With these, may I now request the speaker, learned speaker, to kindly start the deliberations, please.
Akhil ji, kariye start.
Okay. Namaskar, everyone. I see a lot of participants really crossing like Gadar to 300, practically 296 or 300. All congratulations to
And
Nitesh.
many of the participants are joining in the YouTube channel also, sir.
Yeah, congratulations, Nitesh Mori ji, for producing this kind of Gadar 2 in our profession. Congratulations, and for that from Calcutta. And dear Nitesh Mori ji, Chairman Suresh Kejriwal ji, Pramod Himmat Singh ji, and my dear brother Rajesh Mehta ji, with whom we have spent a lot of hours and trying to update the text guidance note for the institute. It is a great pleasure that I stand before all of you and to discuss the various significant changes in the form number 10B and 10BB made to the charitable trust. And this is a pivotal movement, as correctly said, in the regulatory landscape. Earlier, there was a 3-page form which has been updated to a 20-page form. And all of us professionals will have to do a lot of multitasking. Apart from, there have been a lot of amendment in the tax audit 44AB form, and with the same spirit, the department has upgraded this form 10B and 10BB, which we will have to file a lot of information, and practically we will have to become like financial detectives with a magnifying glass, or we have to wear a Sherlock Holmes hat to get all the information. Earlier, we were not so diligent, but with a lot of charitable trusts now also opening up, and lot of worthy high net worth individual giving lot of charities, there is a lot of onus on all our professionals to do this. I can just before giving my this to my brother Rajesh Mehta ji, there was a very good poem by the popular poet of West Bengal, Rabindranath Tagore of India also, where mind is without fear, like for all professionals, where mind is without fear and head is held high, where knowledge is free, where word has not been broken, where words are written with depth of truth, let my country awake. So we all professional will have to, I think, follow his spirit in doing our duty. Now I'll transfer to Rajesh Mehta ji for his few words. Thank you all.
Thank you, Akhil ji, and thank you, Nitesh ji, and all my professional brothers for this today's webinar on very important topic of the form number 10B and 10BB. So for this assessment year 2023-24, we are to furnish a very new report in form number 10B and 10BB, whatever is applicable to our charitable and religious clients. And I think form 10B is now more than 5-6 times more detailed as compared to our tax audit report in the form number 3CD. So earlier we used to think that the form 3CD is much exhaustive and much detailed, but now 10B has become much more detailed, and 10BB is also much more detailed, asking for a lot of requirement, lot of information. And our attest function of the chartered accountants is now become more important as regards the charitable and religious trust. So, as you all are aware that during last 3-4 years, there have been so many changes in the taxation regime of the charitable and religious trust. And earlier, we used to furnish the form number 10BB if the our institution is registered under 1023C 4, 5, 6 and 6A only. But
Hello.
now, if any of the trustees registered under
আমি
section
অন্য ওয়ে দিয়ে আইডি দিয়ে জয়েন
12A,
করলাম, হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ একটা এসেছিল, ওটাতে রেজিস্টার করলাম।
if any of the trustees or institution is registered under 12A and claiming exemption under section 11 and 12, but if their gross receipt during the year exceeding rupees 5 crore without giving effect to the provisions of section 11 and 12, then such charitable and religious institution are also required to furnish the form number 10B. So first of all, we must have to keep in mind that all the charitable and institutions which are registered under section 1023C, Roman clause 4, 5, 6 and 6A, and registered under as per section 12 capital A, B, or 12AA, they are required to furnish the form number 10BB if their gross receipt is exceeding rupees 5 crore during the financial year 2022-23 without giving effect to the provisions of section 11 and 12 or 1023C as the case may be applicable. And one more important thing, if any of the trust is registered under section 1023C, so first of all, please all to keep in mind that I will not repeatedly say 1023C Roman 4, 5, 6, 6A. So wherever ever I will be speaking 1023C, kindly presume that 1023C here is meaning 1023C Roman 4, 5, 6 and 6A. Wherever I will require 1023C Roman 3AD and Roman 3AE, I will separately use that clause. So if any of the trust or institution is registered under 1023C, but not having received exceeding rupees 5 crore, then such trust and institution is required to furnish the form number 10BB. So, but if any of the trust or institution which is not required to register under 1023C, if their receipt does not exceed rupees 5 crore, then any of the institution claiming exemption under section 1023C, Roman 3AD and Roman 3AE, they are not required to get themselves registered under 1023C, or even they are not required to get themselves registered under section 11 under section 12AB of the Act. So they are not required to furnish either 10BB or 10B. So please keep in mind this important changes applicable from this year. So Akhilji, will you? So I have given some outline. Okay, so Akhilji will be.
Initially, what Chairman Suresh Kejriwal ji and Convener Pramod ji, we have decided that for 3 or 4 clauses I will take, and the next 3 or 4 clauses Rajesh ji will take, and slowly we will try to cover the form 10B and the rule 17AA with regard to the books of account. That is a very important amendment here. So we will initially start with the difference between the form 10BB and 10B. The very first question which arises in the mind of
1 minute, Akhilji.
Yes.
I will intervene in between. If any question arises, I'll seek the clarification. Please bear with me so that it will be better for for all participants.
Yes.
Allow me that.
Yes. Definitely.
Yes, if any of the question is in the chat box,
before you start, before you start, sir.
We will like this to be an interactive session. We will like all participants to be part of this webinar.
We'll take up the question and answer session at last. Otherwise, you will be derailed because it is a vast subject. It is a vast subject because close by close, it will take time.
Yes, very correct.
Before you start, sir, I want for the better understanding of the new audit report. As an auditor, first of all, how do I classify the auditing organization, under which category it falls, whether under the medical or the hospital or the charitable? How as an auditor this thing to be addressed? Second one, sir, please explain in brief 215 along with the proviso, so that it will be, if all these things we understand, then it will be better to understand the audit report. So,
Very correct.
both of you, please explain, share this thing.
No, very correct. I think Rajesh ji has done a quite fantastic job on the write up about 215. So Rajesh ji, you can briefly explain purpose of
Yes,
charitable trust, because in the guidance note also he
Yes,
has
yes.
prepared a very good purpose of charitable trust. So Rajesh ji, we can. But before going through that, I was just wanted to bring a brief difference between the form 10B and 10BB. Because the very first instance. Or maybe Rajesh ji, you can start with charitable purpose, explaining the charitable purpose under
Yes,
section
please.
215, so that everyone can understand the purpose of charity or definition of charity, the various 4 and 5 limbs. Okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
Please.
So dear friends, first of all, as regards charitable purpose, I would like to discuss some other important issues, because all the important things which are applicable to our charitable and religious trust institutions audit, we would like to discuss more details here. So first thing I would like to discuss here, religious and charitable institution. So whenever our new assessee come to us and he asks us that I want to form a new religious institution. Many times during last many years, I have seen that whenever we have filed any application for registration of our charitable or religious institution under section 12A or 12AA, and now 12AB is applicable. So many times department used to say that you cannot form any religious institution for a particular religious community. So first of all, we must keep in mind that any of the religious institution can form any of the religious trust or institution for the purpose of a particular religious community. But any of the religious institution or religious trust cannot be for a private religious purposes. Private religious purposes means only his family members. So I think none of the client come to us for forming of any religious trust for only his family. If he is forming only for his family members, then it is private religious purposes. But if we are forming any religious trust for our particular religious community, say for example, any person who is a Jain, he is going to construct a Jain temple, or anyone who is Agrawal, Maheshwari going to form any Hindu temple of Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, or any of the other community forming any of their pilgrims, any of their buildings, etc., for the purpose of their worship, then the Constitution of India does not prevent anyone to save their religion. Similarly, Income Tax Act does not prevent any religion to keep safe and keep promote their religion. So first of all, because I have seen that many of the trust deed during last 20 years have drafting error. They have mentioned in their trust. Say for example, anyone is forming a trust for Jain community. They have mentioned in their trust deed that the all religion, all without discrimination of caste and creed, everyone will be allowed to enter in our religion, in our trust premises, in our, and by this, they in future they are not going to keep preserve their own religion. So, but this thing I am talking only for the religious trust. But as regards charitable institution, what is the charity? Charitable purpose are defined under section 2, clause 15 of the Income Tax Act. The charity means any purpose which includes relief to the poor, education, yoga, medical relief, preservation of environment, including watershed, forest and wildlife, and preservation of monuments or places of or object of artistic or historical importance, or any other object of general public utility. So all these are covered under charitable purposes. So whenever we are going to form any of the trust for the purpose of charitable purposes, say for example, one of our client comes to us that he wants to start any hospital or any school. So running a hospital is a medical relief. Running a school or college is an educational activity. So any of the charitable purpose institution cannot be for a particular religious community. So if you are forming any charitable institution, then you must keep in mind that you cannot keep it limited only to a particular religious community. You have to allow every person of India, without discrimination of caste and creed. So in hospital, you cannot say that only Jain will come here, only Agrawal will come here, only Maheshwari will come here. In case of charitable institution, and you will also see that under section 80G also, they have mentioned that if any of the charitable institution has been formed for any particular religious community, then such institution can never be allowed 80G exemption, 80G registration will never be allowed to such institution. So we must keep in mind this thing. So charitable purpose has to be for all communities.
I request all the participants kindly keep your setup in mute position.
So if any of the charitable purpose, say for charitable purpose is a yoga, any person who has formed any institution of yoga for the purpose of yoga. So yoga is the main charitable activity. Earlier, before the year 2015, yoga was covered under any other object of general public utility. So if any of the charitable purpose is not covered under main limbs, then such institution cannot carry out any business activity in excess of 20% of its gross receipts. So earlier yoga, if any yoga activity was being carried out by any of the charitable institution, say for example, their gross receipt were rupees 1 crore and they were receiving some business receipt also by sale of Ayurvedic medicine, and the sale of such medicine was of rupees 50 lakh. So it should not have exceeded rupees 20 lakh earlier to year 2015, because yoga was not covered under main limb of the charitable purpose under section 2 clause 15. So from the year 2015, yoga is under main activity. So if any of our charitable institution is not covered under main limb, education, medical relief, relief to the poor, yoga, or preservation of environment, etc., but that is covered under any other object of general public utility, then we must keep in mind that such institution cannot carry out business in excess of 20% of its annual receipts. Otherwise, its exemption under section 11 and 12 will be denied and its whole business income will be taxable as per the normal provisions of the Income Tax Act. So we must keep in this mind. So Akhilji is here. Akhilji. Akhilji.
Yes, he is there, but I think he's muted.
अच्छा अखिल जी आपका माइक अनम्यूट कर लीजिए. हाँ अखिल जी. तो अब
may I add something to this? May I add whatever?
हाँ yes अखिल जी बोलिए आप.
Yeah. Whenever we talk about charity, charitable trust, societies, there has been so much litigation with the income tax authorities, with the department, high courts, that what exactly is charity could not be understood by a layman. And sometimes I feel any activity we are doing without structure, with structure, what is charity, what is not charity. Though under the Income Tax Act, the section 215 defines the charitable activity, charitable purpose as there are 4-5 limbs, which is relief of the poor. And again, to understand relief of poor itself is again a very big topic which we can go for a day. The second is education itself, maybe education with cost. There are certain schools we are charging fees maybe ₹1 lakh a month, but again, if it is engaged in education, it is still a charitable purpose. Then again, yoga was added by our honorable prime minister as part of the limb as a charitable activity. So any yoga done with fees, without fees, again it is a charitable activity. Similarly, like education, then again medical relief, all the hospital, even if they are charging fees, by because they are providing many medical relief, they are again a charitable activity. Sometimes the issue comes whether when we are discussing with the income tax authorities, they said any charging of fees for any of the activity will make you liable to taxation, and this is not a charitable activity. But as per the income tax law, all these activity are, if we are done with fees also, and even there is a profit, there are various judgment also, the activity, the act of doing that activity itself is a charitable activity. And earlier there were so many decisions with regard to cricket also. So basically what we say in North India is that कहने को दुनिया में कोई बात नहीं, बयाए अंदाज बात बदल देता है. Suppose we say sports, again we say playing cricket, whether cricket is a business, or whether cricket, if we are trying to sports and teaching student, it becomes a charitable activity. So there are various dimensions, and there have been various litigation by various authorities. And now, because of all this litigation, the department has gained great onus on the professional to put it in the audit report, which earlier was not there. Now they want to know each and every line of the activity, the kind of funds, where the funds have gone, where the funds have come, to be mentioned in the audit report. That liability has been cast upon all of us professionals. So we have to be very careful that how we do the audit. We have to really become that financial detectives with a magnifying glass. And another issue with regard to charitable activity, we wanted to, sometimes the income tax authorities are bothered about the receipt side. They say if you're getting any income from rent, this is not a charitable activity. If you are given a shop on rent, a commercial shop on rent, the trust is not getting charitable activity. If you are getting any contract and you're getting any receipt for a charitable work or any activity which is part of your objects, it is not charitable activity. But it is not like that. You can have receipts, you can have receipt, any kind of receipt, only your expense side, your activity of involvement into various limbs as per section 215 has to be there. Once you are applying those income, those receipts to the various activity, that is why under the law itself, even business is allowed to certain other advancement. There is a restriction, but for the first 4-5 limbs, even business is allowed without any restriction. And only then we have to maintain separate accounts and get the accounts audited separately. Under, if it is 44AB is applicable in that business, that has to be done, and then we have to give a report on the charitable trust. So we have to understand there is as Pramod ji rightly said, the crux of the matter is what is charitable purpose. That is very important. And I think most probably now they have amplified the audit report, and we will try to discuss the various clauses of the report. We will initially start with the common clauses between 10B and 10BB, and then we will take clauses which are only present in 10B. So should we start, Pramod ji? We have your consent?
Sir, before you start the clause by clause, let us, you are talking about the annexure. Huh?
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
I want
the main cover note.
I want your comment on the main audit report format 10B or 10BB, both.
Yes, very correct, very correct. That is also
in the audit report, sir. They want from us whether the particulars given in the annexure are true and correct.
True and correct.
At the same time, asking us to give the true and fair view of the profit loss, income and expenditure account and the balance sheet. Sir, the speaker, sir, the true and correct about the annexure, if you see, then the data in the annexures are being captured from the profit loss account or the balance sheet, where we are giving the true and fair view. Again, you are asking me, give your true and correct the figures mentioned in annexure. How to strike the balance? One more thing, here they are talking about the balance sheet, income and expenditure account, at the same time profit loss account. We know, sir, in NGO, income and expenditure account is there. Here they are purposely written profit loss account also. Is there any significance? Please throw some light, then we'll go close by close.
Yes, sir. So I will explain.
Just to add, you can, Rajesh, just to add, Pramodji has very rightly highlighted the two very critical in the main report. But again, there is additional clause which they have added, which is proper books of account has been maintained at the registered office of the above named fund of the trust or institution. And now they have added rule 17AA, where they have added at least more than 40 types of books of account, which includes everything from your corpus fund receipt to ledger, cash book, bank book, application, accumulation of your early years. Now, as an auditor, we have to certify that the trust is maintaining those specified under rule 17AA. So every professional should by heart, just like we used to learn the tables, like 2 table, 3 table, 9 table, we will have to learn the books of account to be maintained by the trust before carrying out the audit, because we have to certify that. And Rajesh, you can now
Yes, sir.
talk about the true and correct and true and fair, very correct.
Yes, sir. So Pramodji, you have rightly captured the thing, that true and fair view and the true and correct view. As we are regularly doing the tax audits under section 44AB of the Income Tax Act, there same thing is being adopted as regards the financial statement being the profit and loss account and balance sheet. We have to give our true and fair view, and as regards particulars furnished in form number 3CD, the chartered accountant has to give his true and correct view, because this is the specific report. But in the same manner as required under 3CD, the particulars are being furnished first of all by the client to the chartered accountant. So the particulars which are required to be furnished in form number 3CD are furnished by our client to the chartered accountant. Then chartered accountant gives the report of true and correct view of the particulars furnished in form number 3CD. Similarly, in case of the balance sheet and income and expenditure account, or the statement of affairs and the profit and loss account of the trust or institution, we have to give our true and fair view. And as regards particulars being furnished in form number 10B or form number 10BB, we have to give the true and correct view. But the ICAI guidance note is going to give you the similar opinion as being given in the 44AB tax audit guidance note, that if there is a lot of data, there is voluminous data, then you can rely on some management representation and you can rely on some test check basis, even if you are giving your true and correct view. Further, another important thing, under section 44AB, third proviso, under third proviso, it is mentioned that if books of accounts of the assessee are being audited under any other law, then auditor is required to furnish form number 3CA and particulars in form number 3CD. But similar relaxation is not there in case of the 10B. There, the chartered accounts, say for example, any of the institution is being audited under any other law. Say for example, the audit is being done under respective state trust act. So the trust act auditor is different. For the purpose of 10B, the auditor is different. In that case, the auditor will have to himself draft and verify the true and fair view of the financial statement. The form 3CA like form is not there in 10B. So in 10B, he has to give the true and correct view, and his financial statement also to be certified by the auditor who is certifying the form number 10B. So this thing also we must keep in mind.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this it is very.
One
Yes,
more thing, sir.
go ahead.
As from the talk it emerges, because we are talking about the dealing with the public charitable trust, in which the huge members are there. To them, we are sending the audited statement of account. Now, should we send the only non-corporate entity audit report, 1 page is, because this is longest report, this is special purpose detailed report. Should we confine ourselves to submit this special purpose audit report only to the department and to public at large, only the 1 page non-corporate entities report? What is the institute do?
Yes, that form number 10BB and 10B is required only for the purpose of Income Tax Act.
Very correct, very correct. It is my opinion that every charitable entity should have a statutory audit, which we give a 1-page report to the non-corporate entity. That report, every professional should make one report doing a statutory audit, because already under Indian Trust Act, any Society Act, there has to be a statutory audit. So that should be the statutory audit report. We should generate that. And this report is practically a tax audit report for a special charitable trust, which is Form 10B or 10BB. So especially this contains all your tax verification or tax information which the income tax authorities want us to give as a professional, as a chartered accountant. So there should be at least 2 reports. And if there is a business being carried on by charitable entity, then they should also have a 44AB report, a tax audit report under that section also. There can be a 3 report also, but specifically, mostly professionals I have seen all over India, they are only doing this Form 10B earlier and not generating statutory audit report. So it is my request that all the entities, we should have a statutory audit report, which should be signed separately, and as Pramod ji rightly said, which should be sent to all the members and everyone. And this tax audit report should be enclosed with the income tax return by the due date. Very correct, very correct.
So one more thing I would like to add here, that who can carry out the audit? First of all, we have to determine who is restricted to carry out the audit of an institution. So as per section 288 of the Income Tax Act, and they have mentioned section 13(3). So any of the chartered accountant, if he is debarred as per section 288, he is restricted as per section 288, then he cannot carry out the tax audit for the purpose of Income Tax Act. So we must keep in mind that any of the person, say for example, any of the person who has given a substantial contribution of rupees 50,000, then such a chartered accountant cannot carry out the audit of such institution, or if he is the founder or he is the trustee or any of his relative is the trustee, then he cannot carry out the audit of such trust or institution. So the substantial contribution word is much important here, because under section 13(3), they have mentioned that substantial contribution, that is rupees 50,000 up to the end of the previous year. Up to the end of the previous year. So up to the end of previous year means, very difficult word here, because so up to the end of previous year, a word, say for example, any of the chartered accountant had given a donation of rupees 40,000 to a religious trust in the year 2020-21, and in the financial year 2022-23, that chartered accountant has given a donation of rupees 20,000. So up to the end of previous year, the aggregate donation has become 60,000 rupees. So now for the financial year 2022-23, that chartered accountant cannot carry out the audit. But there is a practical problem. How you will find out what is the aggregate donation of any substantial by the person? Because mostly the charitable trust and institution does not maintain record of substantial contribution. But now the various records and various registers have been mentioned to be required to be maintained by every charitable and religious trust and institution. So there they will be required to maintain also the list of substantial contributor. So we may obtain a management representation and we may verify the list of substantial contributor, register of substantial contribution maintained by that trust. If that is not maintained, we have to report it. That clause will come in the forthcoming paras. There we will discuss in detail, but here it was required, so I have mentioned it. So first of all, we have to verify whether I am eligible to carry out audit or not. So say for example, 3 years back you have given 40,000, current year you have given 20,000. This is a separate situation. But in the current year itself, the chartered accountant has given a donation of rupees 75,000. So the prima facie it is visible that he has given a donation more than rupees 50,000 during the year itself. So primarily you cannot carry out the audit. So please take care of this thing also.
Now participant wants, sir, to start the close by close discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, please. We'll start because it is a very long road.
Yes,
This is practically from Delhi to Calcutta, and it is there are a lot of speed breakers, a lot of clauses.
I agree.
Which will take a lot of time. There are some easy clauses, easy road, highway like expressway, but some are clauses very difficult.
I'll disturb you only in the business and 11.4, I will disturb
very
you.
correct.
Sir, there is no disturbance, and our very valuable participants are here, and we are trying to utilize their time also. Even if we have not started the clause by clause, but the things which are important we have to discuss here, otherwise that will skip in due course.
And we all are discussing and learning. We are also learning, sir, with you also, and with Rajesh sir. Every time we are learning something new.
Correct.
Something new queries. That is one. So we will discuss the common clauses. Let's start with Rajesh. We will discuss the common clauses. I will start with the common clauses. Clause 1 to 8, and then the next clause, and then you can take up of the form 10BB and 10B. Now, before starting the common clauses, again, each and every clause has become very important. When we are filling in the report, each and every clause, all professionals should take their time and specifically examine that and then fill up that form, because each and every clause has become very important. The first clause is the PAN of the auditee. So definitely the assessee, whichever is the PAN number has been allotted to him, will be mentioned. Under clause 1, the permanent account number allotted to the assessee whose accounts are being audited. Sometimes the assessee or the auditee, because earlier very old organizations have seen, if they're running a school, if they're running a separate unit, because of their lack of knowledge, ownership of the assessee is there, and they're managing a school, they're managing a hospital, but those school and hospital have taken a separate permanent account number. So it is advisable, because now all charitable entities have to file a return. All charitable entities have to, even 1023C, they have to file an audit report. They should surrender their other PAN numbers, and the assessee, main assessee, that PAN number should be mentioned. Because we have seen so many cases where the one assessee, which is running various units, the units have separate PAN numbers. So we should only have one PAN number. So clause 1 of the permanent account number allotted to the assessee whose accounts are being audited under section 12A or 1023C should be indicated. Now clause number 2 is name of the auditee. Again, sometimes the name of the auditee, apart from the society or the trust, they are running a hospital under a different name, they are running schools under different name. So we should also mention those names also, that this is the assessee. This is my advice, that we should also mention if a particular school, which is the unit of that particular assessee, plus any hospital which is a unit of that should also be mentioned in that clause. It will be better for a longer reason. Then third clause, and if there is in the name of the assessee whose accounts are being audited, and in case if the change has taken place during the financial year, in the name has taken place after the close of the financial year, but before signing of the audit report, name as the year ending should be also mentioned. Suppose there is a change in the name. Sometimes the trust or the society undergoes a name
Akhilji,
change.
the request from the participant to increase little volume. Please say loudly, little bit loudly.
Yeah, I'll try to be more louder. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we are talking about the name of the assessee. Is it audible now? Name of the
Yeah.
assessee?
Yeah.
So name of the assessee whose accounts are being audited under section 12A 1023 should be given as specified in the PAN and should be reported. In case of change in the name of the assessee, if there has been change
जो
and
15%
change,
recognition की बात हो रही है.
yeah, if change has been made after the even the financial year, the new name should be mentioned, because automatically in the PAN card or in the PAN database, everything is now linked, even in the income tax portal. So the new name also should be mentioned, with mentioning that erstwhile this was the name of our assessee. So that is the auditee, whatever the name is there, that should be mentioned. Then clause 3 with regard to the assessment year. So assessment year relevant to the previous year for which accounts are being audited should be mentioned. Now we have a uniform financial year from 1st of April to the 31st March. So I think we all understand the assessment year will be 1st April 2022. For this assessment year will be being audited by 31st March 23. Then we have to mention the previous year. Previous year is the year ending. So we will mention the previous year 31st March 23, since the previous year under the Act now uniformly begins on 1st April and ends on 31st March. So that previous year should be mentioned. Now again comes the very important clause is the registered address of the auditee and other addresses. Clause number 5 and 6. Now what is the address? We have seen so many times that the charitable entities have given some home address of the trustees, and the activities are being carried out at a separate activity. Now under the books of account, now under the income tax law, it has already been mentioned that if books of account and all the records, books of account as mentioned under rule 17AA, if those are maintained other than the registered address, we have to intimate the income tax officer that we are maintaining the books at that places. So it is very important that we should mention all the addresses where the activity is being carried out by the auditee or by the charitable entity, including the registered address along with the address where the books of account and other records, all those records are being maintained. And an intimation to the income tax officer should also be given. And apart from this, nowadays survey can be conducted with the new books of account, with new forms and application to be maintained by the trust, and empowerment has been made to the income tax authorities to carry out survey. Earlier, 3-4 years back, there was no power to carry out survey of these charitable entities. Now they have also allowed the income tax authorities to carry out survey of the charitable entities. So it becomes very important that those addresses are mentioned. As a professional, we mention all the addresses of the assessee. Then type of the auditee. So type of the auditee, there are various type of the auditee. We have also seen sometime in the PAN card which have been obtained earlier, even trust has taken the PAN number with C as a company. So we have to rightly update our PAN cards. Either we are trust, we are society, either we are a section 8 company, or either we are association of person, or either we are waqf, or either we are any other entity. We should correctly mention the type of auditee. We should check with the memorandum of association, with the article of association, with the trust deed and their PAN card also, because sometimes if a wrong type of assessee is mentioned, there is a difference between the audit report we upload and then it does not reconcile with the income tax portal. When we have to verify that with the UDIN number, sometimes because of the change in the status, a wrong status is filled, there is a mismatch. So it is advisable proper type of auditee is mentioned after verifying with the PAN card and verifying with the constitution papers with us, with the professional. And again, there is another clause number 8, which talks about whether the audit is established under an instrument. So nowadays it has become mandatory that all for obtaining 12AB registration, all the entities have to be registered either with the register of society or with the register of trust or with the register of companies. So we have to establish that this is, yes, they are registered under an instrument, and we have to mention that. Now we come to common clauses from clauses number 9, that is about management. It talks about detail of author, founder, settler, trustee, member of the society, members of the governing council, shareholders holding more than 5% of the office bearer of the auditee anytime during the previous year should be stated. Such a detail during up there comes a question whether the author, founder, settler, trustee, whether it has to be mentioned since the beginning or whether of the previous year. But when you come to author and the founder, definitely the initial who was the author and founder or settler will have to be mentioned in the income tax return and in the audit report. But office bearer, any member of governing council which have been holding the post during that year will have to be mentioned. And we have to mention name of the person, his relation, percentage of shareholding, his unique identification number. So we'll have to take his Aadhaar card also, then his address, then if the person is any beneficial owner. So all those details under the clause, this clause now the income tax want from the auditor also.
I work with commercial.
Rajesh ji, the next clauses you can take, sir.
Yes, yes,
Clause number 10 onwards, you can take, sir.
yes.
Yeah, please.
So,
That
we
is
have to
commencement of
mention-
activity. Yeah.
we have to mention the management details, the details of all the author, founder, and settler and trustees, members of the society, members of the governing council, directors, shareholding more than 5%, or office bearers of the auditee at any time during the previous year. Any of the person who has been any of the author of who has been trustee at any time during the previous year, his name is also required to be mentioned here under this clause number 10 of the form number 10B and clause number 9 of the form 10BB. So we have to mention this. This record has to be maintained by the auditee himself. So we will have to ask for the details from this. You are, I think all are aware that CBDT had issued a notification number 94 in the year 2022 on the 10th August 2022. So as per that notification, all the charitable and religious trust and institution are required to maintain various registers. From that register, you can verify, you can take and you can confirm the list of all the author, founder, settler, trustees, and office bearer, etc.
Sir, some of the participants are asking for the form to be displayed side by side.
Yes, yes.
So as to
Form number 10, Rajesh ji, form number 10.
Okay,
B
form
can be
10 we
displayed.
will share here. Okay,
Yeah.
form 10
And then we can
share
go
here.
clause by clause. That will be better. Yes. Thank you,
लेकिन
Naveen.
सर मैं
Thank you.
बताऊं 10B शेयर कर लीजिए और 10B को डील कीजिए, उसी से 10B भी ऑटोमेटिक कवर हो जाएगा. इज इट सो?
Yeah, correct.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था मेरा.
अभी क्वेश्चन जरा बाद में करेंगे.
ओके सर, ओके
सर, यह मेरा फॉर्म में आया, शेयर
यू
हुआ.
विल गिवन चांस.
हाँ सर, ये सेंटर में एक ऑप्शन है, शेयर स्क्रीन का ऑप्शन है, हरा रंग का बटन होगा सर, उस पर आप करेंगे क्लिक तो आ जाएगा.
वो मैं कर रहा हूँ, एक मिनट. पर यहाँ दिख क्यों नहीं रहा है? Why that form is not visible here? Yes, अखिल जी, हाँ आप शेयर कर दीजिए. अखिल जी,
I'm trying.
हाँ सर, आपका हैज स्टार्टेड स्क्रीन शेयरिंग, बट
10 भी देख लीजिए, आपका आ रहा है.
मैं वही चेक कर रहा हूँ.
पहले वो फॉर्म को खोल लीजिए आप लोग, उसके बाद वो शेयरिंग हो जाएगा. पहले खोल लीजिए.
Yes, this form.
Is it being shared now?
हाँ, yes, शेयर कर दीजिए. इसको ओपन
ओपन करेंगे हो जाएगा सर.
मैंने ओपन कर दिया है.
आई थिंक सर वो शायद टाइम लैग हो रहा है थोड़ा सा फॉर 5-10 seconds, तो हमें अभी दिख नहीं रहा है.
अच्छा.
द लिस्ट ऑफ डॉक्यूमेंट्स आर अवेलेबल बट नॉट द फॉर्म.
I have opened that form.
Sir, is it visible to you on screen?
Yeah, it was visible to me.
Okay.
चलिए मैं एक बार देखता हूँ. I will try.
Again, it is,
this form.
Sir, list is available. Kindly double click so that it will be open, sir.
I was opening. Sometimes.
ये आ गया. Sir, now my form is visible.
नहीं सर, फॉर्म आपका खाली लिस्ट खाली विजिबल है, लिस्ट ऑफ द डॉक्यूमेंट्स.
अच्छा, इसमें भी ऐसे ही हो रहा है. अच्छा, तो वो मेरे पास तो ओपन हो गया ये, है ना?
हाँ, host who can share host only shared something like that. They're saying.
अच्छा, ऐसा है क्या?
जस्ट चेक इट आउट सर. ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट्स सर, मैंने ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट्स कर दिया सर.
अच्छा, तो फिर मेरे पास भी फॉर्म इज ओपन हियर, बट आई थिंक यू आर नॉट एबल टू व्यू दैट. ओके
सर, अब एक बार ट्राई कीजिए सर.
मैं try करता हूँ.
आप एक बार उसको क्लोज कीजिए फॉर्म को. अब क्योंकि ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट्स आर एबल, अब खुल जाएगा.
हाँ, यस यस, देख लीजिए.
Has been now sharing? Is it happening?
यस यस.
Now you can see that form?
नहीं, ओपन नहीं हो
नहीं
रहा
सर, अभी भी नहीं हो रहा. आई थिंक देयर सम
सर अपने कंप्यूटर में अपना खोलो सर, गूगल से डाउनलोड करके.
Naveen, you can just download the form 10B from the website.
Yes, yes.
And you can share that. Naveen?
हाँ,
Yes,
आप
yes.
ओपन. यस, आप ओपन कर
जस्ट गिव मी
can
1 minute
open.
सर, हम अभी कर देते हैं सर.
यस यस. हाँ,
खुल गया सर, खुल गया ना?
हाँ, ओपन हो गया. यस यस.
हाँ.
नाउ दैट फॉर्म इज ओपन. सो अखिल जी, उसको आप कर सकते हैं आगे.
सर थोड़ा सा मैक्सिमाइज कर दीजिए बिकॉज बहुत
Sir,
छोटा है.
Control 2 press कर दीजिए sir. Control 2 press कर दीजिए. It will expand sir to the whole page. Control 2.
कंट्रोल 2 कर दीजिए. ठीक है. और इसमें अखिल जी, ये जो लेफ्ट साइड में वेलकम टू एक्रोबेट आ रहा है ना, वहाँ क्रॉस कर दीजिए. हाँ, ये इसको क्लोज कर दीजिए. इसको क्लोज कर दीजिए. यस. अब इसको एक्सपांड कर दीजिए आप. यू कैन एक्सपांड इट.
वो नीचे में प्लस का साइन उसमें दबा दीजिए.
हाँ सर, राइट हैंड साइड में सेकेंड लास्ट ऑप्शन जो प्लस का साइन है, राइट हैंड साइड में सेकेंड लास्ट ऑप्शन ऑफ द डॉक्यूमेंट.
This one?
सर प्लस का साइन है, देखिए, मैग्नीफाइंग ग्लास एंड अ प्लस साइन इन द सेंटर.
I am trying to do that.
राइट हैंड साइड स्क्रॉल बार के एकदम नीचे में.
अच्छा, वो स्क्रीन शेयर से हट गया अभी. स्क्रीन शेयर से हट गया. आई थिंक सर, हम जो डिस्कस कर भी रहे हैं ना, आई थिंक आपको फॉर्म नहीं भी विजिबल होगा.
नहीं, but anyway, form we need. Naveen can share that. Naveen,
डिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दीजिए, फॉर्म मत लिखिए.
Naveen, can you share that?
राजेश साहब,
Yes, sir.
आप कंटिन्यू रखिए,
One minute,
कंटिन्यू
sir.
रखिए. फॉर्म तो
हाँ, वही फॉर्म.
Naveen, can you share that?
फॉर्म सबको पता है सर.
Yes, yes, sir. Form is yes, form is nothing special. That is open for everyone. So form
पहले क्लोज में क्यों डिस्ट्रिक्ट करते हैं, इसके बाद फॉर्म 10B और 10BB का डिफरेंस दीजिए. छोटा
Yes,
मोटा
yes.
एनजीओ, थोड़ा एनजीओ क्या डिस्कस होगा.
Yes, sir. Yes.
राजेश साहब ये बता दिए 10B कहाँ लगेगा, 10BB कहाँ लगेगा.
Difference
बता
between
दिए, उसके बाद
10B and 10BB, sir, that we had prepared earlier. Rajesh ji, that is there.
हाँ.
वो आप इनिशियल रिमार्क में बोल भी चुके थे.
एक
मैं देता हूँ.
अभी सर 11-12 में थे हम लोग. मैनेजमेंट साइड उन्होंने कवर कर लिया था. 11-12 क्लोज को कवर कीजिए.
नहीं, we'll just cover the difference as he said, na, difference between form 10B
हाँ,
and 10BB.
वो कर लीजिए, वो कर लीजिए.
Applicability of form. So
Yeah.
applicability of form 10B is where it is applicable. Trust or institution under section 12A, the total receipt is more than 5 crore. Again, we have to be very cautious on what is income. Normally, the income tax law is about income, but in the case of charitable entity, the income is not excess of income over expenditure. It is total receipt, the gross receipt, and sometimes it is the corpus fund has also to be included. When you are supposed to do the audit, the corpus fund has to be included in that receipt or the income. So if your corpus fund and your general receipt and the interest and all kind of income of your credit side is more than 5 crore, then it will be audited under 10B. And if 10B is again applicable even though your receipt is not more than 5 crore. But if you receive any foreign contribution, any trust which receipt is less than 5 crore, but he received foreign contribution, then again we have to give report in 10B. Then again, any trust or institution, if he has application made outside India, it has to be charitable purpose, has to be of India, but any application is made outside India, then again, and the receipt is less than 5 crore, then form 10B will be applicable. Then again, with trust or institution under section 1023C, income is more than 5 crore. If receipt of any foreign contribution, then again 1023C form 10B is applicable. And any application outside India, then again for 1023C form 10B is applicable. In any other case, in any other than these cases, then form 10BB is applicable. So that was the difference between 10B and 10BB. Apart, 10BB contains much lesser clauses, which we are now going to even amplify, and whereas 10B contains a lot of details, lot of clauses, whereas 10BB does not contain basically regarding disallowances, whereas 10B contains much more clauses with regard to this. Yeah, Rajesh ji, to you.
Yes.
We were discussing about clause 10 now. You can go to
clause 10. So clause 10 में हमने already discussed ये कर लिया. Clause 10 में we have already discussed that list of all the authors and trustees have to be mentioned. So that record you can take out from the details maintained by our clients. So that client has to maintain the record. Sir, screen share आपका हो रहा पर form 10 भी share नहीं हुआ अभी तक.
I'm trying, sir.
Yes.
I will just do that. You can continue. I think clause 10 is, sir, regarding commencement of activity, sir. Very important, sir. Commencement of activities.
Yes.
Clause 10 of form 10B.
Commencement of activities, क्योंकि उसमें जो देखिए जो clause self explanatory उसके लिए हम समझ नहीं लेते हैं, because जो चीजें ज्यादा डिस्कस करने लायक.
करेक्ट सर. हाँ, जो तो सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी सर वो छोड़
हाँ, जो सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी है केवल एकेडमिक यूज के लिए. हाँ,
पत्थर जुड़वन कर दे.
So important thing is the details of place where the books of account and other documents have been kept and maintained. So जिस तरह से हमें as regards we have to हमने 3CD के अंदर जिस तरह से हमें we have to mention where the assessee has maintained his books of accounts. Similarly, in the 10B and 10BB, under clause 14 of the 10B and clause 11 of the form 10BB, we have to mention that where the assessee has maintained the books of accounts. And if the books of accounts have been maintained at any other place, as other than place being the registered place, then the assessee has to intimate to the income tax department, to his jurisdictional assessing officer, regarding the place where his books of accounts have been maintained. And in clause 14 of the form 10B, you will come to know that the assessee has required to maintain so many of the details, so many of the books of accounts and registers. The important things which are to be maintained are the cash book, ledger, journal, copies of bills, whether machine numbered or otherwise serially numbered, and copies of counterfile of machine numbered or otherwise serially numbered receipts issued by the assessee. Original bills wherever issued to the person, and receipts in respect of the payments made by the person. Any other books that may be required to give a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the person and explain the transactions affected by such details. Books of account of the business undertaking, then assessee is required to maintain the record of all the projects and institutions run by the person containing their name, address, and objective. Record of income of the person during the previous year as per rule 17AA-D. One minute.
The only Rajesh ji,
Yes, sir.
I will just add with regard to the commencement of activities. Acha, 1 second. Can you share the screen? I just got some help. Just share the screen. Can you just here share screen here, na? Yes, yes.
So the assessee is also required to maintain the record of voluntary contribution containing details of name of the donor, address, permanent account number if available, and Aadhaar number if available. So the rule 17AA requires that assessee is required to maintain the details of voluntary contribution received, his name and address. Name and address is compulsorily required. A voluntary contribution, name, address, but PAN and Aadhaar is only required if it is available. Otherwise, it is not required. If any donation is received in hundi, is received in any other donation box, then there is no required to maintain the name and address of the person. But such donation can be received by only by the religious institution. So in case of charitable institution being the educational and medical institution, if they are not maintaining name and addresses, then they may attract the 115 BBC. So we must also keep in mind. A record of application of income out of income during the previous year. So as regards this clause, record of the following for application of income in India containing details of amount of application, name and address of the person to whom any credit or payment is given. So these records are also to be maintained by the assessee that payment has been made to so and so person, and amount credited or paid to any fund or trust or institution or any university or other educational institution registered under 1023C clause 4, 5, 6 and 6A. So if any donation is given to any other trust or 1023C institution, that separate record has to be maintained for such trust and institution. Application of income outside India, deemed application as per 1112 of the Act for the purpose of form number 9A. Income accumulated or set apart as per provisions of explanation 3.2. So if any income is accumulated or set apart in form number 10, then separate record has to be maintained by the assessee for that also. Then 11.5 investment has to be maintained by the assessee. So all these things are to be required to be reported by the chartered accountant in this clause number 14 of the form 10B and clause 11. So please refer to rule 17AA regarding the maintenance and reporting of this. Then the details of substantial contribution will also be required to be maintained by the assessee.
सर यहाँ पर आपको बताया कि रूल्स के अनुसार जो मेंटेन करना है वो हमारे कंप्यूटर में टैली के डाटा में जो मेंटेन है उससे काम चल जाएगा, वो हमको सेपरेट एक रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा, ये बताइए.
Sir, tally data is only required regarding the maintenance of books of accounts. But various separate registers as specified under Rule 17AA has to be maintained by the auditee, by the client, by the trust and institution. May it be in electronic form, may it be in physical form. So these are required to be maintained. Yes. So Akhilji, please, please speak.
Hello, can everyone listen to me? Yeah, of course, of course. The last clause, Rajesh, which did you finish? I will try to share the screen, so I missed that part. The last clause which you completed, sir? Rajesh?
Clause 14 of the form number 10B. Clause 14.
Okay, 14. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I just wanted to add with regard to the clause 10 of the form 10BB, the clause said about commencement of activity. Because when we are filing for provisional registration, there is a clause which says that we have to apply within 6 months of the commencement of activity of the registration. And also, if there is not commencement activity, we have to apply 6 months before the expiry of the provisional registration. because now under the Charitable Trust Income Tax Act, there are two registration. First, we have to get a provision registration for new entities. For the earlier entities, we got a regular registration for 5 years, but all the new trust and entities which are formed, we get a registration, a provision registration, and we have to file online forms we have to file. And as soon as the activities commence, so there has been quite discussion, what is commencement of activity? Does the commencement of activity means whatever objects we have mentioned, does that when we start a particular object, that is only the commencement of activity, or does it we start making some expenditure, any a particular expense is made, then only commencement of activities happen? Or do we, when we decide and we make a plan to start the activity and we have on very persons, whether we can say that commencement of activity? And those date of the commencement of activity for even a registration, suppose we only have a provision registration and we have not commenced the activity and if the financial year ends, so it becomes for the auditor very important for the auditor to mention the commencement of activity date. So from my point of view, this clause 10 itself has become very important, Rajesh, that commencement of activity, the date of activity, we will have to take very sacrosanct that what is the date of activity for getting the 12A registration.
Yes. हाँ अखिल जी शायद आपका आवाज नहीं आ रही. हेलो.
No, actually उनका कुछ इंटरनेट कनेक्शन हो रहा.
Okay,
issue हो रहा, that's why.
Okay, so अखिल जी कंटिन्यू कर रहे हैं. जब as regards maintenance of books of accounts and what are the records required to be maintained as per rule 17AA, I would request everyone to refer to rule 17AA, and we would request each and every of our charitable trust and institution to maintain records as required as per rule 17AA. So if any of the trust or institution is receiving any corpus donation, they have to maintain the record of corpus donation separately. So corpus donation will have to be separately recorded, is also required to be maintained so that corpus donation can in future be traced, that only the corpus donation is spent only for the purpose for which it is received by the auditee institution.
Yeah. So
then,
yes. Please, sir. Please, Rajesh, sir, please continue.
As per section 13.3, the specified persons have been mentioned in section 13.3 of the Act who has made a substantial contribution, or who is a relative of the trustee or author of the institution, or who has a more than 5% of the shareholding, or such any other specified persons which are required under section 13.3 of the Act. That list, that register has to be maintained by the assessee, and the details of transaction carried out by the trust or institution during the current previous year has to be mentioned, has to be maintained by the assessee, and from that transactions we can find out that whether our assessee has carried out any transaction with the specified person. So that register we should advise our client specifically to maintain. So this is the requirement of the clause number 14 of the form number 10B.
Can Rajesh sir, we can take rule number 17AA, go by one clause, 17AA, sir. It was part of our write-up also, sir. That clause 17AA, sir, because each and every book we can discuss.
Yes, good. As regards 17AA, also the details of immobile property is now also required to be maintained. Earlier, when earlier to this new form number 10B, earlier we could not ask from our client regarding the details of immobile properties held by them. So now we should ask our client to maintain the details of immobile properties, and in that register they have to maintain the details of nature, address of properties, cost of acquisition of the asset, registration document of the asset. Details of registration document will also have to be maintained in that register, and separately we can verify the registration document of that asset. If any of the property has been transferred, then net consideration utilized in acquiring any other new capital asset, we can verify that. In case of movable properties, including details of nature and cost of acquisition of the asset, many of the religious trusts receive gold and silver and any other important thing which are the movable assets. So these assets we can ask from details, we can ask from our assessee that because the gold jewelry is valuable thing, so these things we can ask from them the details of such movable assets. Then record of a specified person we have already discussed.
One of the important clauses is income accumulated or set apart as per provision of section 3 to third provision to clause 23C of section 10 or subsection 2 of section 11, which has not been applied or deemed to applied containing details. Now the income tax authority want us that all kind of accumulation earlier, even the 15% accumulation and the other accumulation done, which for which we have filed form number 10 or 9A, they want it linked and all the details have to be filled in the income tax form also. So practically kind of a cash flow we have to maintain for earlier years which form we have filed. The details have to be mentioned in the report itself and in the return, and also we have to link it that whether that funds have been separately, like corpus fund has been separately deposited into a separate bank account, whether those earlier accumulation has been separately kept at a particular funds or not. So those amount, I think we will have to, every professional or every assessee, a trust or a society, charitable entity will have to specifically maintain a cash flow for each year to see that the accumulation, the amount which have not been spent out of the capital fund, it has to be spent on capital resources, and out of the revenue fund, general fund, it has to be spent on general expenses. So this is something very, I think, typical and critical for each professional, and as an auditor to examine that is become quite critical.
And then another important thing as per rule 17AA sub rule 4, the books of accounts and documents are required to be maintained by the assessee trust or institution for a period of 10 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So now we will advise our client that you are required to maintain all your books of accounts and documents for a period of 10 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So first important thing is there, as per Income Tax Act, only specified professional, CA, doctor, engineer, 44AA subsection 1, only the specified professional are required, who are covered under 44ADA, are required to keep and maintain their books of accounts for a period of 6 years. Any other assessee, even if he is carrying out any business, he is not a specified professional. Any of the person who is a businessman or he is a non-specified professional, I think as per the Income Tax Act, there is no time limit prescribed for which he is required to maintain the books of accounts. So now only two categories are there under the Income Tax Act: specified professional, specified under 44AA subsection 1, who are covered under 44ADA. They are required to maintain books of account for a period of 6 years. And the charitable trust and religious institution are required to keep and maintain their books of account and document for a period of 10 years. So other assessee who are covered under 44AB audit, they are not, the law does not require. Here it is not required to discuss because we are discussing the trust audit. But I want to mention that they have made the law regarding the trust and institutions so stringent that they have to maintain their books of account for a period of 10 years. So even tax audit assessee under 44AB are not required to maintain. For how much period they are required to maintain, it is not mentioned in the Income Tax Act. So trust, we will advise our clients to keep and maintain. If say Tirupati Balaji Mandir is receiving donation of so much, so huge receipt, either it be in the digital form, it be in the electronic form, but it also consumes the capacity, it also consumes the cloud space or the hard disk space or the data. It is, even if electronic data requires a lot of data, space to be maintained. So these data will have to be kept and preserved for a period of 10 years, even if whatsoever is the trust and institution.
We should take, sir, this as an opportunity for all professional. This opportunity, this is keeping records for 10 years and various books of records have to be maintained. This is a big opportunity to professionals to guide them.
Yes.
And sir, there is also record of loan and borrowings. Now, loan and borrowing has to be taken as income and then application. So, record of loans and borrowing has to be specifically maintained. Confirmation regarding the amount and date of loan or borrowing, the date of repayment, name of persons whose borrowing has been taken, whether repayment of such loan or borrowings, whether we have taken application out of those loan and borrowing, and even adjustment from those loan and borrowing has to be made in our income tax computation. So it has actually become the computation of income, and the audit has become more even difficult than the companies, I think, the
Yes.
way it is proceeding, sir.
So now we take up the clause number 21 to 30 of the form number 10B. So clause number 21 to 30 requires the details of voluntary contribution.
Sir, in 10B, you're talking about, I think you have not covered the clause number 15, please. You have skipped
10B. Okay, okay.
10B, clause number 15.
Clause 15.
Because this is a vital advancement of general public utility. I'm disturbing you, sir, because you have gone to clause number 21.
No,
Vital.
we were taking common clauses.
Yes, sir.
So you are taking common clause. Okay, you proceed.
Because
So clause 15 is
those clauses which are covered separately under
Okay, sir. You proceed, sir.
Yes, yes.
You proceed.
Later on, yes.
This
So
is how we have
common clauses
prepared.
are being
Yes,
discussed.
you proceed, sir.
Yes, and in हालांकि chat box में we are not going to reply anything in the chat box. After completion of our discussion, we will give each.
वो sir question answer में कर लेंगे आपने.
We will give reply, but someone was asking that utility is not available. So I want to clear that form number 10B utility is already there, and form number 10B and 10BB has already been notified in the in March 2023 itself. But 10BB utility is not released. 10BB utility is not released, and form 10B utility has already been released.
Pramod sir has already filed.
Yeah. I have already filed 10B.
So as regards the details of voluntary contribution, which is required as per form 10B clause 21 to 30, the whether auditee has filed form number 10BD. So now in the form 10B, we are also required to maintain and report that the auditee has furnished the form number 10BD. If this is not reported, the form 10BD is not filed, then this also required to be maintained, required to be reported in our 10B. Then total voluntary contribution received during the year, total foreign contribution out of the total voluntary contribution forming part of the corpus, that amount has to be reported separately. Then another important thing is the anonymous donation, taxable at the rate of 30% under section 115 BBC. So the 115 BBC is applicable only to charitable, educational and medical institution. So if any of the educational or medical institution receives any anonymous donation, so anonymous donation means the name and address of which has not been maintained, then that amount has to be reported here. Then voluntary contribution required to be applied by the auditee during the previous year. Income other than voluntary contribution derived from property held under the trust referred to in section 11, or income of the front door trust or institution, educational institution or any hospital or medical institution other than the contribution reported in other clauses. Income required to be applied in India by the auditee during the previous year. So any income which has been received during the year, out of that income we have to apply at least 85% of the income during the current year. If any of the income which has not been received during the previous year, but which has only accrued, say for example, any of the trust or institution has an FDR of rupees 10 crore. So the interest income is on that amount is rupees 70 lakh rupees. So that 70 lakh rupees is not required to be applied because that in FDR interest has only accrued, and the trust has made this FDR for a period of 10 years. So that FDR will mature, that is cumulative FDR, that amount will mature after 10 years. So amount will be received only after maturity of 10 years. In that case, we have to furnish form number 9A for claiming the form number for claiming this TDS relevant to that year. We may claim that TDS during the current year itself, and we may carry forward that accrued interest for the next 10 years by furnishing the form number 9A. And because form number as per section 11, subsection 1, as per expression 2, we can accumulate any amount if it has not been received during the year. So it can be spent in the year in which it is received or immediately succeeding year. Or for any other reason, if any amount could not be spent up to 85%, then such shortage can be spent just in the succeeding year, just in the immediate subsequent year. So there are two conditions for furnishing the form number 9A. If any amount is not received, that can be spent in the year in which it is received. That is not required to be compulsory in the subsequent year. Maybe it 5 years, 6 years. And if any amount has been received but could not be spent, then that amount has to be compulsory spent in the subsequent year. And if any amount is received and you want to accumulate it for a period of 5 years and spend for a specific purpose, you have to furnish the form number 10 for that specific purpose. That should be only for a period of 5 years. So these things also we are required to be keep in mind while furnishing the information regarding the amount applied or amount deemed to have been applied under this clause number 15. So if any of the amount has been spent out of India, then we may also require to be see the form number 15CA or 15CB furnished for that purpose by the trust or institution. Application of income as per clause 31 of the form number 10B. So these clauses are common in 10BB and 10B. So total amount applied for charitable or religious purposes in India during the previous year, amount which was not actually paid during the previous year. So as per section 11, subsection 7, the proviso to section 11, there is a proviso to section 11, which says that if any of the amount has not actually been paid during the year, that amount cannot be deemed to have been applied during that year. So nowadays, the income tax department has deemingly made it applicable to the charitable and religious trust that they are deemed to have been following the cash system. So if any of the amount is payable, that cannot be deemed to have been applied during that year. So you will have to verify their creditor side, liability side. Such amounts cannot be deemed to have been applied. Section 43B of the Income Tax Act requires that if any of the amount has been paid before the due date of furnishing of the income tax return, that will be deemed to have been applied. But under this form number 10B or for the purpose of section 11 or for the purpose of section 1023C, if any amount is payable that cannot be deemed to have been applied, it will be deemed to have been applied only in the year in which it has been actually paid. So this also we must keep in mind. Amount invested or deposited back in corpus, which was applied during any preceding previous year and not claimed as application during that previous year. So this thing also is required to be reported under clause 31 of the form number 10B, repayment of loan or borrowing, because any amount invested or deposited back in the corpus can only be treated as applied. Similarly, any repayment of loan or borrowing can only be deemed to have been applied. Any expenditure, any application out of that loan cannot be treated as application. but repayment of loan or amount invested or deposited back, and that too also have been within 5 years. So that thing also we must have to keep in mind. Then if any of the trust or institution has not followed the provisions of section 40A subsection 3 or 40A Roman 1A, that clauses we also are required to be report here. And as you all are aware that any of the trust or institution can accumulate its 15% of the gross receipt for unlimited period. So that amount also we are required to report here. What is the 15% of the gross receipt of the trust or institution? And if any of the trust or institution has given any donation to any other trust or institution, then only 85% of that amount is deemed to have been applied for the purpose of the trust. That more than 85%, even if you have given a donation to other trust of rupees 100, then only 85 rupees will be deemed to have been applied for that purpose.
सर इसको जरा फिर से एक्सप्लेन कीजिए।
हाँ सर, ये सर सर वो 85% या 50 जो if any of the trust or institution is making a donation to any other trust or institution, then it's only 85% amount will be deemed to have been applied. Because, and this is not a detrimental provision to the trust, because if any of the trust or institution has income of rupees 100, then it's already 15% is accumulated for unlimited period, which is not required to be spent. Therefore, they have made a restriction that since you are taxable, you are required to apply only 85%. Then you will be allowed only 85% even if you are giving it as a donation to any other trust or institution. Otherwise, if you are giving donation of rupees 100 to other trust, you are accumulating 15%. That other trust is also accumulating 15%, and then the subsequent trust will give donation to any other trust, that will also accumulate 15%. So at source, they have restricted it by 15% by reducing 15%.
This is a new provision. This is a new provision, sir. This is a new provision.
Yes, this is.
Sir, one query. Hello.
Sir, queries we will take later on.
Yeah,
sir.
please restrict your query. We will
Sir,
give you a chance, sir.
Queries are too much.
ये subject बहुत vast है, तो आप उनको करने दीजिए.
Last half an hour shall be dedicated to question and answers, please.
Yes, yes. Don't worry.
So Akhilji, please. Akhilji, he's here.
Akhilji का I think sir network issue चल रहा है, so I think.
Okay, no problem. Yes. So details of corpus donation. So the trust is in the. Here we are also required to maintain the details of corpus donation. So opening balance at the beginning of the previous is required to be reported. That opening balance will only show the corpus not applied till beginning of the previous year. If any of the corpus has been applied in earlier year, that is not required to be included in the opening balance. Then corpus received or treated as corpus during the previous year, applied during the previous year, amount invested or deposited back to the corpus during that previous year, total amount invested or deposited back into the corpus during that previous year, invested in mode specified under 11.5. So any of the corpus donation is compulsorily required to be. Sir, 1 second, I am receiving a if any of the trust or institution made any corpus donation to other trust, then that corpus donation can never be deemed to have been applied, because corpus donation to other trust is never allowed. अखिल जी, हेलो, सॉरी, अखिल जी का कॉल आ रहा था, सो आई हैड टू details of loan and borrowing. So similarly in the schedule LB, so schedule
नवीन जरा अखिल जी से बात करके कोऑर्डिनेट कर लो.
Yes, yes. Schedule LB, loans and borrowing schedule, is there in the 10B, the opening balance as on 1st April of the previous year. Loans and borrowing taken for application towards objective of the previous year, during the previous year, applied for the objects of the trust or institution during the previous year, amount of repayment of loan or borrowing during the previous year. So any amount of repayment of loan and borrowing can only be treated as application during that year. So that has to be mentioned in form number 10B, clause schedule LB. Amount disallowed from application. If any of the trust or institution has violated section 40A Roman 1A, so if TDS has not been deducted, then 30% of that amount will be not allowed as an application if TDS has not been deducted.
राजेश साहब, लोन वाला जो बात है ना, थोड़ा हो सकता पार्टिसिपेंट समझ नहीं पाए हों, थोड़ा डिटेल में एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए. लोन, हाँ, मतलब क्या कि लोन आप जिस साल में लिए और वो खर्चा कर दिए आउट ऑफ द लोन फंड, इट विल नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड एज एन एप्लीकेशन.
यस.
अब जब लोन रिपेमेंट करेंगे बैंक को, वो साल में ही एप्लीकेशन माना जाएगा, मतलब एक्सपेंसेस माना जाएगा.
Say for example, any hospital.
Example just समझाइए.
Yes, any hospital has taken a loan of rupees 2 crore for purchasing some ambulance. Yeah. And out of that 2 crore, they have purchased some ambulance. So earlier we used to do that. We used to treat that purchase of ambulance as an application of income. Correct. And when the assessee trust used to repay that loan, again that repayment of loan was treated as application of income. So all the trusts or institution covered under 1112 and 1023C were claiming double deduction. So to avoid that double deduction, now Income Tax Act has made a provision that if any of the amount has been spent out of any loan and borrowing, that will not be treated as an application of income. So in the year of purchase of ambulance, that will not be treated as application of income. But in the next year, out of that 2 crore loan, you have made repayment of rupees 20 lakh. That 20 lakh will be treated as application of income. Correct. After 3 years, you have made repayment of 40 lakh. That 40 lakh will be treated as application of income. So this thing has to be kept in mind. And interest on loan borrowed is required, is already application of income. If interest is accrued, then as per proviso to section 11, it is not treated as application. But if any interest has been paid during that year, that is debited already in the income expenditure account, that is treated as an application of income. So that restriction is regarding only the repayment of loan and borrowing. No restriction is as regard interest. Interest, if accrued, then it is not liable for allowable. It is not allowable. Interest repayment is only allowable.
लोन की तरह सर बता दीजिए लोगों को कि
one
लेवल 2 में भी
request,
सिमिलर प्रोविजन है.
one request to the participant, actually so much video has been opened that is consuming the data of our speakers. So Akhilji is getting the problem. So request kindly off your video. So only those who are speakers are requested to have the video. Others, you all are requested to kindly off your video. So because their data is consuming and it is creating a problem in joining Akhilji so much data is consuming. So request, if you can off your video, everyone please. Other than speakers, please continue. Yes, sir, please. And Sanjay ji, I am talking, he is also on the way. So he has consented to join from the mobile. So we are as soon as he's coming, we will, because he's on the way, we will give him 10-15 times, 10 minutes time. He will be speak direct committee chairman. Sure, ISG, we can give
Yes,
na?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, okay, sir. Sir, please continue.
Yes, okay. So,
सर आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट है, जितने भी पार्टिसिपेंट हैं, आप अपना वीडियो ऑफ कर दीजिए. आपका वीडियो चालू है, इसके कारण से अखिल जिंदल जी को ज्वाइन कंटिन्यू रहने में प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, क्योंकि उनका डेटा बहुत ज्यादा कंज्यूम हो रहा है. तो आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट है, काइंडली आप वीडियो ऑफ कर दीजिए. यस प्लीज, क्योंकि 300 से ज्यादा पार्टिसिपेंट है, 350 पार्टिसिपेंट.
sir, as earlier in the 3CD we are giving the TDS reporting, so similar TDS reporting is also required to be now given under form number 10B also and 10BB. So under there is a TDS schedule is there. So under that TDS schedule we are required to report all the details of payment, date of payment, amount of payment, nature of payment, name of the payee, PAN, Aadhaar of the payee, and details of the amount on which TDS has not been deducted or paid. So these details are required to be furnished in form number 10B as regard the TDS deduction, etc. So if any amount is liable for disallowance under 40A Roman 1A, जिसको हम 40A IA बोलते हैं, that is 40A Roman 1A. So that reporting has to be done here. So if any cash payment or any payment by way of non-account pay check or by way of non-banking channel, then that amount is also covered under 40A subsection 3. That amount has to be reported here. Details of deemed application under section 11.1 as per explanation 1 of the 11.1 or 11.1B of the deemed application under 11.1B of the Income Tax Act. However, 40A3A is also there in the 10B report, but nowadays 40A3A will not be applicable because only the payments which have been actually paid are only required to be treated as deemed application. So any amount which is payable is not required to be deemed to be application of income. So 40A3A will have no application. I think so that has only the academic importance. As per clause 23 or clause 31 of the form 10B, 31 Roman 11 of the form 10B, application under section 11.1A disallowed for payment towards corpus to any other entity. So if any, I have already told that if any corpus donation has been made to any other entity, that will not be deemed to have been applied, that will not be treated as an application of income. So for this purpose, the assessee is already maintaining a record of donation to other trusts and institutions. From that record and corpus donation record is also required to be maintained by the donee institution. And the assessee, the auditee has to maintain that record. So from that corpus donation is never to be treated as an application of income to any other trust.
आपको व्हाट्सएप किया लिंक.
Outside India. If any amount has been applied outside India,
नहीं, आप उस लिंक से ही ज्वाइन कर लिया.
If any amount is applied outside India, then if permission or approval of CBDT has not been obtained for spending out of India, then such amount cannot be treated as an application of income. So as per clause 31 Roman 14 of the form 10B, application outside India for which approval has been obtained and has not been obtained. So if approval has not been obtained, that will have to be reported under 13 Roman 14. Then another clause is the 31 Roman 15 of the Form 10B, application outside India for which approval has been obtained. So these two differentiation has to be shown here. So I welcome to our respected Direct Tax Committee Chairman Shri Sanjay Agarwal Sahab.
Welcome you, sir. Friends, we are having that live none other than our Central Council member, and who is the Direct Tax Committee Chairman, who is taking care of the guidance note of the on the issues of the charitable trust. Also, working very hard with the team to come out with the so drastic changes are there in the charitable trust. He's working very hard with the team so that it can be published at an earlier date. So very thank you, sir, for joining us today, gracing the occasion. There are 300 plus participants, 312 participants who are there on Zoom as well as on the YouTube channel. Hundreds of participants are there, sir. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nitesh bhai. Thank you, Rajesh Mehta ji, for deliberating on this topic, and Akhil Jindal ji also deliberating on this topic. Actually, let me tell you very frankly, today I have to come urgently to my daughter's in-laws here in Udhampur, and that connectivity was not very good, and I'm not in at all in official attire also. I'm sitting in a room of my would-be son-in-law. So, friends, I think what Nitesh bhai has said, that we are trying to work it out. But let me tell you frankly also that even after the working by various groups, those who have worked day and night, and Rajesh bhai and Akhil bhai, especially I acknowledge Rajesh Mehta ji, that he has devoted more than 8-10 days specifically coming to Delhi or on Zoom, reading one by one clause. But let me tell you very frankly, the more we are reading, the more we are trying to guide the member, we are feeling more and more complex things are there. Then what is the process, what we are doing? First of all, group have given their reports. Then certain clauses we have not been able to get because those clauses are very controversial in nature. Then Rajesh bhai and Akhil, they are sitting together. So I am starting from beginning, since this guidance note has to be in par with the recent guidance note which we have released on in respect of 44AB, and it will be available in the domain of the my members tomorrow. I'm trying to get it released in the council itself. Then thereafter we'll circulate that guidance note. We have made some structural changes in that guidance note also, and all those changes we are trying to bring in this. Writing something on a plain slate soon this also. The Delhi is closed in 8, 9, 10, and I think that I'll be able to complete it. Otherwise, I have some secret work of the exam also, so I need to attend that also. So this is the background of this background material. However, the Rajesh Mehta ji and Akhil Jindal ji, they have dealt it, and I would request Nitesh bhai also that please note down the points which the members are taking. Let us not have more deliberation. Let us have more interaction. You note down the queries, you note down the difficulties of the member, give it to Rajesh Mehta ji and a copy to DTC or to me, so that we can at least 80%, 90% of those issues, at least we can cover and give the guidance to the member. So this is what, in short, I would like to say. Nothing on the technical content I would like to state at this moment, because the faculties are very good and they deal the topic in a they are dissecting each and every line of the 10B and 10BB form. and how to upload it, what is offline, what is online, where the balance sheet is to be given. For example, if you are adding an CA in 10BB, then they are asking that you upload first balance sheet and then the reports. So we need to see this, that we have to finalize all these things. So this is the short background. Anything, if the leaders, those who are here, if they wanted to ask me specifically, they can ask me. That's all. Otherwise,
आसिफ
from
भैया,
my
आसिफ भैया कुछ बोलना चाहें?
नहीं नहीं, कुछ नहीं, संजय जी इतना बढ़िया बता रहे हैं, हमारे दोनों स्पीकर इतना बढ़िया बोल लिए, खाली सुनने के। नमस्कार संजय भाई। नमस्ते संजय भाई, नमस्ते। आपको तो सुनने के लिए बैठा था, मैं बोले यार आज ये बढ़िया मौका मिला बहुत दिनों बाद, तो हम बोले संजय भाई को भी सुनने का मौका भी मिल जाएगा, देखने का मौका भी मिल जाएगा। थोड़ा सा लेट तो हो गया था।
I am indebted. I bow my head, sir, for your devotion.
It's a pleasure listening. और बहुत बढ़िया डेलिब्रेशन चल रहा है। Honestly speaking, this 10B is there, but 10BB वाले जिसमें practically less than 5 crores वाले जो involvement है, they are the biggest one. Practically, let us be very practical. I think both the learned speaker would agree to this. Sanjay bhai, you would also appreciate. ये छोटे काम वाले जो बच गए और उनको कितनी तकलीफें हैं, उनको कैसे 10BB करना पड़ेगा। हमारे प्रमोद भाई तो फाइल कर दिए, इनका तो काम तेज पड़ता है, लेकिन जब तक यूटिलिटी नहीं आ रही तो भाई साहब अनयूटिलिटी वाले लोग तो यूटिलिटी के वेटिंग में ही है अभी तक। यहाँ जाए तो आगे काम बढ़ जाए।
This is also one issue that we need to seek from the board, because what had happened in the past, when the tax audit format was changed, at that time people have uploaded on the old format. So I think at that time board has issued an instruction that you need to file in the new format. So this is also an issue which will deal with the board. But initially we have to come out with the clear-cut, you can say, guidance to the member as to where we need to give what, and if it is not available. For example, in clause 11 in the 44AB, we have to give the details, the location, then the where the books of account are kept, where we have examined. However, in this charitable trust, we need to give not only location, but we need to tell if they are not in registered office, then whether we have filed to the local jurisdictional AO within 7 days of that shifting the books of account. So what will happen in the case the books of accounts are in the cloud? So many questions which, we are chartered accountants. So we know, we go in the depth of everything, and then we try to solve it out. So we have also discussed with some of the people in the higher ups, and also we are trying to tell them, look, these are the things. So we are trying to give a chart where the form 7, what will be there in the form 7, which is to be used from this 10B also. So sir, it is making little difficult for our experts at Delhi and everywhere, those who are contributing in this. But nevertheless, we'll come back, and definitely, most likely, we'll come back by 11 in this area.
We also have Suresh Kejriwal ji, who is expert from the Eastern region on working on the charitable trust only, sir. Sanjay bhaiya, he's working only on the Suresh Kejriwal ji from the Calcutta and working only on this this charitable trust issue, sir. So Suresh bhaiya, if you can add something.
Sir, only request with Sanjay bhaiya.
Yes,
is
sir.
to issue this guidance not at the earliest, because the last date of uploading the form is 30th September. Or at least we can pursue with the civility to extend the timeline for this year, because the utility has not come for 10BB, though the online utility has come, but the offline utility has not come. And the number of issues, subjective issues on which we need to certify. And that's why everyone is waiting for the issued guidance. Given we have to give a true and correct view, then how we can give the subjective view as a true and correct? So,
sir, I would like to say only this thing at this stage. I am seized of the matter. I am waiting for an appropriate opportunity, because when the reports will not be filled up, the number of the SSCs are already known to the department. they will say to it. Today, if I go on 4th and 5th September, they'll say 25 days are there. So let us wait. So I'm seized of this matter, and I assure you, sir, all needful will be done. So as a policy matter now, Institute of Chartered Accountant is not at all going for any extension. But in this case, I have already discussed with the president, and we'll take something tomorrow in the council meeting also. I will, if anything is required for any exception for going to the board for seeking something, we'll go there. So far as explaining each and everything, as I have told you, that it took a lot of time for 44 AB, and this also we have tried to work it out, but my hands are little tied up. Anyone, whether you, Kejriwal sir, PK Agarwal ji from Calcutta also have joined. If you wanted to give us something, you are most welcome. I would request Akhil ji and Rajesh bhai to involve Kejriwal ji in drafting of the whatever rest is there, and the what we have done till I think 17, 18 clauses I have already finished. Rest I will do today, because my daughter's marriage is in the month of November, and only today, Sunday, I have been able to come here to their in-laws, and I'm from their room. I'm now deliberating on this. So you do not worry. Tomorrow onward, we'll be on this job, and will leave no stone unturned in bringing out this. Even if I have to, if I'm not in a position to bring out the technical guide itself, will bring out something in the form of FAQ, for which I do not require much deliberation. So if need be, by 11th, we'll try to get it finished. This is my endeavor as on today.
Thank you, sir.
So continue to fill up your physical form, whatever have been released by the board. Keep it with you, whatever best is possible, and we'll do the other things which are required from the issue.
Sir, if I am to interrupt, then let me inform that 10BB of online has been already enabled, and it is on 31st of August, and it is getting filed, sir. So 10BB also, that can also be done, sir. This is
yes, sir. But yesterday somebody told me that they are not finding out the place from where the balance sheet is to be uploaded. So that you should also deliberate here in the webinar. This webinar, I will request Nitesh bhai to give the recording to us, so that we can circulate here from the our sources in our groups also, and we have some of the other channels also. There also we can release this.
Sir, right now I am sending you the YouTube link. It is
Yes,
live there also. Everything is live also, and recording also. They can anyone can see anything.
Only 400 member or odd is right now going on live. But what we'll do, we'll try to push it to the various members, and we will post in various groups, so that, because this is the apt moment when we are discussing on this topic, and you have the people, those who are reading not only line by line, but they are reading word by word, I am telling.
Yes.
Sir, attachment is at the last section of the 10BB, and once you upload 10B, then attachment is there. So attachment has to be done for balance sheet, income expenditure, or profit loss as it is, and any other attachment it has to be done. It can be done, and the size of the attachment each is 5 MB each.
5 MB.
It can be 15 MB, sir. So this may be noted, and it is in PDF format only, PDF or zip. So this can be noted, sir.
Yes, thank you, boss.
And sir, I had already just now I had WhatsApp you the YouTube link that is recording also.
Certainly tomorrow I will do the needful.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so.
Okay, all the best to all those who are here on Sunday afternoon, leaving their families, doing for the patients, listening patiently, and doing the duty what we have been assigned. Nevertheless, we are there. We'll fight till end. that we are in a position to discharge our duties. Thank you very much. I'll take leave.
Sir, I assure you on behalf of the members, we members are there to support the institute. Whatever they decide, we are there. And we are very thankful that in spite of all the hurdles, you have graced the occasion. Very thankful for sharing the link and recording also. So salute you for all this, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, respected Sanjay Agrawal, sir.
So please continue. I'm leaving now.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Thank you.
Now, Akhil sir ji has joined.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
My broadband had disrupted some.
Yeah, Akhil, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. No, I'm saying thank you very much, and we'll try to with these resources try to update the technical this guidance note now. We should do that.
Yes. Chalo. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, sir, let us start.
So we continue. So as per form number 10B clause 31 Roman 20, there we are required to report the income accumulated as per form number 10 for the purpose of section 1112 or 1023C. So that form number 10 has to be submitted before 2 months from the end of the month in which return is required to be furnished. So earlier the 31st August was the last date for furnishing the form number 9A and form number 10. But CBDT has extended this due date by 2 months by way of CBDT circular number 6 on 24th May 2023. So now this form number 10 and form 9A can be submitted up to 31st October 2023. So we all are aware of this.
This is very important because accumulation forms, this was supposed to be submitted before 1 month, 2 months before the return. Now that has been extended, but especially for this year only, not for every year, sir. Na?
Yes.
This is only for this year. They have done that.
अखिल साहब, जहां तक वो सर्कुलर जो मैं पढ़ा वो लग रहा है कि एवरी ईयर का मामला है.
Every year कर दे, okay.
Yes, so because this year they had to issue the circular.
उसमें साफ लिखा हुआ है.
Next year, I think this will be included in the act itself because
maybe.
In the act they have prescribed the due date 2 months before due date of furnishing the return. So
right.
They had to issue the circular to extend the next year. It may be possible.
But the Rajesh ji, when we submit the 10B form, we have to give the date of furnishing 9A. That means, though they extended the date to 2 months up to due date,
so
but it's not extended to 2 months.
Yes. So
we have to submit it before September, before we file the return.
At least we will have to submit. At least we will have to submit it up to 30th September. Otherwise, that column will have to be left blank. So the utility may accept that column as blank, but we may have to obtain a physical declaration from our client that they will accumulate it for that specified purpose. We must obtain a resolution before signing our audit report, because we have to certify. If we are not certifying, the audit report itself will become wrong. So they have only for theoretical purposes, because many of the persons have told them that the audit report will be filed on 30th September. So how we can furnish it up to 31st August? So indirectly, we have to furnish all form number 10 or 9A up to 30th September.
Yeah.
And if this accumulation is not accepted, then the unaccumulated amount will become taxable at the rate of 30%, 115 BBI. So that is also another problem is there.
Yes.
So all this have to be resolved. You see, all this is linked. Once form 10 has to be filed, if it is not filed, we have to mention in the audit report. If it is not mentioned in the audit report, the income becomes taxable, and in the return it may not accept that, because now everything is linked.
Yes. So schedule of accumulation is also there in this form number 10B. So schedule AC has to be furnished here at the year of accumulation, the date of furnishing of the form number 10B. Form number 10 is required to be mentioned here. Amount accumulated in the year of accumulation, purpose of accumulation is to be mentioned in this schedule AC. So amount applied for charitable or religious purposes up to beginning of the previous year balance to be applied. Amount taxed in any earlier assessment year, balance available for application, amount applied for charitable or religious purposes during previous year out of the previous year accumulation. So this is a very long schedule, schedule AC. So other remaining clauses are itself self-explanatory.
कोई साउंड नहीं आ रहा है.
Then taxable income. Then another very important thing is the 115 BBI. So 115 BBI section is very much important for us. It provides that if any of the income is chargeable to tax in the hands of the auditee, in the hands of the trust or institution, that income will be taxed at the rate of 30%. So only specified income will be taxable under section 115 BBI. So what are the specified income? Income accumulated or set apart in excess of 15%.
सर साउंड नहीं आ रहा है कुछ भी.
अच्छा, sound is not coming.
राजेश जी
साउंड आ रहा है सर, साउंड आ रहा है.
अगर आपका प्रॉब्लम होगा, आप अपना सिस्टम का प्रॉब्लम को चेक कीजिए और यहाँ पे वेबिनार में प्लीज डिस्टर्बेंस नहीं करिए.
So if any of the trust or institution, as you are aware that trust or institution is required to apply minimum of 85% during the current year itself, and 15% up to maximum of 15% can be accumulated for unlimited period. If any of the trust or institution is accumulating more than 15%, and that means they have not spent amount of 85%, then the difference amount will be liable for tax under section 115 BBI at the rate of 30%. So any deemed income as referred to in explanation 4 of the third proviso, or any deemed income as per explanation 3, as per section 11.3 or section 11.1b of the Act. So any deemed income is also liable for tax at the rate of 30%. So that I will explain here next. Any income which is covered under section 13.1d of the Act. 13.1d, if any amount is spent for specified purposes or for specified author or trust, if we have applied, if we have given them any medical facilities, then that amount will be liable for tax at the rate of 30%.
Sir, can you please explain to us how can we show our income under section 11 and 12 so that we are not taxable under other section directly?
So section 11.1b says, section 11.1b says that where any income in respect to which an option is exercised under the clause 2 of the explanation to 1 is not applied to charitable or religious purposes in India during the period referred to in that clause, then such income shall be deemed to be income of the year, income of the person in receipt thereof in case referred to in subclause of the previous year immediately following the previous year. So if form number 9A is furnished and that amount is not spent in the year of receipt or in the immediate subsequent year, then that amount will be liable for tax at the rate of 30% under 115 BBI. So violation of form number 9A is covered under 115 BBI. Then as per section 11 subsection 3 of the Act, if any income is applied to purposes other than charitable or religious purposes or ceases to be accumulated or set apart. So if any amount is accumulated or set apart by way of furnishing form number 10, but that amount is not accumulated or that amount ceased to be accumulated, or that amount is applied to purposes other than charitable or religious purposes or for any specific purpose, or that amount is not utilized for the purpose for which it is accumulated or set apart, or it is credited to any other trust or institution. So this thing is important. Clause D is important, is credited or paid to any other trust or institution. If any amount which has been accumulated for a period of 5 years, but that has been paid to any other trust or institution out of that accumulation specified in form number 10, then that amount will not be treated as application of income, and such amount will be liable for tax at the rate of 30% under 115 BBI. So in the year, so say for example, in the financial year 2022-23, you have a receipt of rupees 1 crore. And out of that 1 crore, you have given a donation to any other trust registered under 12 AB or any other trust registered under 1023C. that amount will be treated as an application of income. But you have not given any donation in the current year itself. You have not applied 85%. So say, for example, you have accumulated 25%. So that is 25 lakh rupees has been accumulated for next 5 years for a specified object of the trust. And out of that 25 lakh, after 2 years, you have given a donation to other trust. Then that amount will not be treated as an application of income. So this thing we must keep in mind.
Now, Rajesh should be involved Akhilji also.
Yes, Akhilji, now please. Akhilji, now आपके views हम.
No, I will, because my some connection is breaking in between sometimes.
You tell him, sir, which clause he is to cover.
No, I will cover this clause number 30 of Form 10BB, clause number 30 of 10BB and clause 43 of Form 10B, which specify that whether auditee has incurred any specific violation as referred to in explanation 2 to the 15th proviso to the clause 23C of section 10 or explanation to the section 4 of 12AB. Because this contains that there is again a very important amendment when you are getting the new registration under section 12AB. If you see the Form 10AC, like a condition which a dry cleaner gives, there are so many conditions that if you're not getting the audit done, then also you will not get the exemption under section 11. Your registration will be invalid. Again, there is a condition when they're giving you registration under section 11, 12AB, saying that if you apply any income other than the object of the trust and institution. Now, what does that mean? That all explication, all activities carried on by the charitable entity, an auditor will have to examine that those activity prima facie falls under the various objectives of the trust. Even though, if let's say, for example, if we are an education institution, any expenditure I make for medical relief, but as per my memorandum, that is not allowed. So that will also attract a specific violation. This may be a charitable activity or a charitable purpose under the Income Tax Act, but because it is not covered under my objects, main objects, under the new income tax law, under the new registration regime, this expenditure, this activity will be outside the objectives and will attract specific violation. And this application, this income will become liable to tax at the rate of 30%. Correct, Rajesh sir?
Yes.
This is one very important, because earlier, any charitable activity, any trust were carrying out any activity, we used to cover into that all activities are part of any charitable activities part of the entity, and there was no violation. But now this is a new amendment. If you see your registration certificates, clearly see the various conditions mentioned in those registration certificates. You see yourself ATG, the registration, new conditions are mentioned. Those all conditions have to be fulfilled, and to align with those registration certificate with the new amendments, the amendments in the audit report has been brought in. So this clause 30 of Form 10BB and clause 43 of Form 10B contains income of the auditee has been applied other than the object of trust, it asks. And if it is not as per the trust, then we have to mention the figure. It also contains whether the auditee has income from profit and gains of business or profession, which is incidental to the attainments of his objective, or separate books of accounts are not maintained by the auditee. Sometimes they are carrying on some business activity. Then again, it is a lot of interpretation. What is a business activity? What is a charitable activity? So if those activities are to be regarded as business, then separate books of account has to be maintained. As an auditor, we will have to mention in that clause 30 of 10BB that how much activity they have taken, and there is no separate books of account had to maintain, and then these income will be liable to tax. And if it exceeds the condition of 20%, your whole income of the trust will be liable to tax. Then the clause C is whether the auditee referred to in clause A of subsection 1 of the section 13 has applied any part of his income for income from property held under a trust for private religious purposes, as in the initially Rajesh ji has explained, if it is spent on private religious purposes, then that amount will have to be mentioned in the audit report, and that will also be liable to taxation. And then again, clause D is whether the auditee referred to in clause B of subsection 1 of section 13 has applied any part of income for benefit of any particular religious community or caste. So great responsibility has been thrust on the auditor that all the expenses, all the activity, we will have to examine with these clauses specifically. And another clause is there, whether the any activity is being carried out by the auditee is not genuine or is not being carried out in accordance with all or any condition of subject to it was registered. So all those registration clauses which I have given and the main object we have given, if is there any activity, just imagine the responsibility on the auditor that any of the activity which is not as per the condition, registration certificate guaranteed to the auditee, and also whether it is not genuine. So any activity, is there some issues are there, sometimes we examine that and we come across that. If any of the activity is like that, we as an auditor, we will have to examine and report that. Then last is that whether the auditee has not complied with the requirement of any law. There was again a lot of debate when it came in the law. It came 2 years back that amendment has under the income tax law. If there is violation of any law under the law of the land, and now the moon also, any law is violated by a trust, then that also we have to report. So as a professional, as an auditor, we will have to understand. It means that if any violation with regard to any activity, various laws are there in India. So every activity we'll have to see that that is as per the law. And I feel it is very, very difficult for an auditor to examine. Then all activity or any activity, sometimes a minor violation is there. Some law we are not following, but it is a charitable activity, so we not give so much of attention. But then if there is any non-compliance has occurred, that has to be mentioned in the audit report. And there is a specific schedule which we have to mention, name of the law which non-compliance has occurred, nature of the non-compliance. Like suppose there is a traffic violation, a truck is going with various for bhandara, some food for poor, and some violation is there, maybe have to report that. So specific violation in this regard under clause 30 of rule 10BB and clause 43 of 10B has to be mentioned. Sir. Rajesh ji, you can take the next clause.
Yes. So as regards form number 10 we were discussing. So earlier, if any of the assessee has furnished the form number 10, the amount has to be spent in the next 5 years. So before the Finance Act 2022, there was provision that if amount has not been spent in the succeeding 5 years, that amount will be taxable in the next 6th year. That amount will be not be taxable in the 5th year. But the Finance Act 2022 has made a provision that if that amount could not be spent in the 5 year, then that amount itself will become taxable in the 5th year itself under section 115 BBI. So now the 1 year grace period has been reduced by Finance Act 2022.
Very correct.
For the purpose of form number 10. So we must keep in mind this 1 year reduction. And in form number 9A also they have mentioned that the year in which that amount has been received, in the same year it will be liable for tax.
Sir, in the last 20 minutes, can we take up some questions, because question ka list बहुत ज़्यादा लंबा है, and I think so कि time
so
भी
one
कम
thing,
है.
we welcome each and every question. And I was seeing that very good queries are there in the chat box, and we are much interested in taking up all the queries. So, please,
sir, before taking the query, you have left out the
important clauses.
Main provision of this trust. Your sir, you have not covered the point 10B clause number 15. Advancement of general public utility. You please cover in short. Please.
Yes. So as in the beginning itself, I have specified that any I have discussed any other object of general public utility. So as per section 2, clause 15, if any of the object is not covered in the main limbs, there are 7 main limbs: education, medical, relief to the poor, yoga, preservation of environment or monument, etc. So if it is not covered in the main limb, then that charitable object will be covered in the any other object of general public utility. So that is also a charitable purpose. Under any other object of general public utility, there is only one restriction, that such trust or institution cannot carry out business in excess of 20% of its gross receipt. If they are carrying out any business activity in excess of 20%, then their income will become liable for the tax. So they will not be allowed any exemption under section 11 and 12 of the Act. So there is only restriction regarding the business activity. And except this, there is no such restriction on any other object of general public utility.
There is clause.
Akhil sir, please
There is a
cover
clause.
10B, clause number 17 and 18.
Yeah, clause
business
15.
undertaking and business incidental to objects.
Yeah. I'll just give a brief again on this advancement of general public utility, clause 15-16, wherein the clause states that wherein any of the project institution run by oddity, one of the charitable purpose is any other object of general public utility than whether any activity which is carried on by the oddity, which is in the nature of trade, commerce or business referred to in proviso to clause 15 of section 32. So all this has to be mentioned in the audit report. So any activity, then if yes, then percentage of such activity vis-a-vis the total receipt, and whether such activity in the nature of trade, commerce or business is undertaken in the course of actual carrying out of such advancement or any other object of general public utility. So all these things in the clause 15 we have to mention, whether there is any activity of rendering of any service in relation to any trade, commerce or business for any consideration as referred in provision to clause 15 of section 2. If yes, then per percentage of receipt. So now we will have to mention the percentage also of the receipt versus the other activity, activity we are conducting. And if yes, then we have to mention the percentage. As I said, 20%. If yes, the aggregate annual receipt from such activity in respect of that project and institution. Yes. Now we come to clause 17 of form 10B, whether auditee has any business undertaking as referred to in subsection 4 of section 11. So in this, we have to mention the name of the business undertaking, the business code, whether the separate books of accounts have been maintained for business undertaking, income from the business undertaking for the previous year, which is not including the total income of the auditee, income from the business undertaking from the previous year, which is to be included in the total income of the auditee. So all these section clause 17 of 10BB, we have to maintain that. As per section 11.4, property held under trust include a business undertaking so held, and where a claim is made that income of any undertaking shall not be included in total income in receipt thereof, the assessing shall have the power to determine income of such undertaking, because sometimes there are certain business which are incidental to the main activity. So those incidental businesses are allowed. Any other business is not allowed. Only business which are incidental to my main activity, like if I'm getting on like Gita Press in Gorakhpur, it is publishing of books. So it will not be treated as business. It is carrying on my publishing of books or printing of books incidental to my main activity of propagating the charitable activity. So only business incidental to object. The clause 18 also cover this. It specifically mentions whether the auditee has any income being profit and gains from any business as referred to in 7th proviso to clause 23C of section 10 or subsection 4A of section 11, as the case may be. If it is supposed to be that activity is incidental to business, then we have to mention the same nature of business, business code, whether separate books of account have been maintained, whether business is incidental to the attainment of the main object. So that is the kind of responsibility and profit and gain from the business during the year. To again, while discussing this, there has been an amendment where now the accrued expenses are not to be allowed while filing the income tax return. So lot of charitable entities in this year, 31st March 23, are shifting from accrual system of accounting to cash system of accounting, because while making computation of income, all those expenses which have not been spent by the charitable entity will be not be allowed. There have been already amendment in the law. Earlier, original law it used to be receipt and application, but because of the various judgments of the courts, they said like depreciation, there was various judgment, and finally the Supreme Court judgment came that the depreciation should be allowed, even the application of asset used to be allowed, and all accrual of expenses, because charitable entity income should be computed like a business entity. So then there was a direct tax code which again wanted to bring cash system accounting, but somehow the other reason direct tax code failed. It was not passed by the parliament. Now again amendment has been brought under the income tax law that only expenses or the charitable activity expenses which have been done by the trust will be allowed. Any accrual of expenses will be not allowed in the financial year. Only these will be allowed when they have spent. So one has to also take care of that while computing the income of the entities. That is there.
Akhilji,
Yeah.
now how as a auditor on this limb, this is 11.4 and 11.4a, as an auditor, how do I determine that it is a business taking? Just because the auditee is charging little hefty amount, then it will be considered. Say I am running a school. I am making a profit of rupees 5 crore. Whether this my activities is under the venture of the business venture or not. But or my second point is here also, in 215, you have said there is a cap of 20%. There is a saving of 20% to save the auditee from the rigor of the business. Here, is there any cap?
To come to your core question, this is a very core question.
Yes,
and
yes.
this I've been struggling for the last 35 years of my practice, and had
That
been
is why this blue section has kept me here, sir.
No,
Just to extract from your rich knowledge.
No, not rich. Whatever the experience we have with the income tax authorities and various judicial authorities, if this is my view, and this we have been endorsed by the various courts also, and we'll discuss with Rajesh and everyone on the board and the forum. The limbs, when we come to 215, is very specifically defines what is the charitable purpose, because we are currently talking about income tax law. There is also another law which we talks about Company Act, where CSR activities are been explained. And when you talk about, am I audible? Am I audible? Yeah.
Please.
There are laws. There is also there is a law which under the Company Act talks about corporate social responsibility. But right now, because then it defines a different level of activities. But not would you confuse with them the various activities. We are right now restrict ourselves to the only Income Tax Act. And the Income Tax Act, the section 215, very specifically define the 5 limbs, which is the relief to the poor, education. When you say education in inverted commas, education only means education for fees, without fees, for whatever charges. So any school, we are handling various schools which have a receipts higher than the business undertaking, which are having a receipts of more than 200 crore, which are charging every student a fees of more than 20 lakhs per year. And every year, those cases have been scrutinized, and those are registered under section 12A, B, and earlier 12A, and those have been allowed to be an education activity and not a business activity. Those schools have been running bookshops where they are selling books to the students. Schools have been running uniforms to the students. That is an incidental business activity, but they are maintaining separate books of account. Those schools are running a cafeteria where they are giving food to the student, the lunch they can buy. The school is a proper school up to day school, and they get lunch in the school, and they have to pay for that. So those are incidental business activity, and they maintain separate books of account. But the main running of education institution, again, because it is education, so even the receipts are 200 crore, they are exempt under they are come under charitable activity, because whatever receipts are, all the receipts are being applied for only for the attainment of the main objective of education. Again, coming to the hospital, if an hospital is running an activity, whatever fees they may be, there has been various amendment. They have various state laws have tried to bring in various laws. Like in Delhi, there is a law that all the schools will have to admit. Recently, for the last 5-7 years, they brought that EWS students will have to be admitted in the school at least 15% of the total number of students. Only then recognition will be given. But under the income tax law, whether they are giving this admission or they are not giving this admission, under the income tax law, they are carrying on this activity of education. Now, even there was a year when the Department of Exemption, they said, because there was a clash between EWS and between these schools admitting those students. That is why this amendment, that if there is violation of any law, has come in. So if any school, particularly any school, violate that law in Delhi of not admitting EWS students in their school, and that comes under that list of their violation, then the income tax authorities can deny them the exemption for that year. So my understanding is in this regard that first 5 limbs, apart from other than object of general utility, which is a separate limb, the first 4 or 5 limbs, without any condition of even 20% carry on any activity, because they are allowed. Only the restriction of 20% is with regard to the other object of general public utility, which is like if you're carrying out dharamshala, which is carrying out if you're doing welfare or bandara, some kind of thing, any activity which is not covered under the relief to the poor, medical relief, or education, or like environment, then only, and all this activity in a prima facie will be taken as charitable activity. Even there are cases which were not recognized, schools, they were not recognized by the state government, but they were teaching Veds and other activity. They were also given exemption by the income tax department. That is my stand, my view.
Akhilji, I want to just draw your attention about the Ahmedabad urban development, para number 168.
Yeah.
Here they have said, just I'm reading one line. Rather, you read, you cover this thing in your research paper. Further, the obligation under, they are talking about 11.4a. Further, the obligation under 11.4a to maintain separate books of account in respect of such receipts is to ensure that quantitative limit imposed by subclause 2 of 215 can be computed and ascertained in an objective manner. The Supreme Court in Ahmedabad urban development talking about that there is no conflict between 215 and 11.4a. There again you have to take a decision on the quantitative, on the embargo level, on the 20% limit level.
Correct,
now,
correct.
just I'm putting it in your notice now.
I know there are so much of litigation. You see to come, I'm just to even come to the very initial way. In 19 the initial act is talked about only receipt and application. If you can understand the why this section 11, 12, 13 was brought about, they said any kind of receipt, any kind of income which you get in your pocket will be your income. That's why it doesn't talk about excess of income over expenditure. It only talks about receipt. And any kind of application, any amount you actually spent from that receipt will be application, and balance amount will be taxable. And there was violation if any person take, because what is the difference between a charitable entity and a business entity? Very simple difference is there, which I used to quote in my lecture. If you can take out that surplus and put in your pocket, then that becomes a business entity. But if those surpluses have to be spent for only those object of that entity, that charitable activity, then it will be a charitable activity. Because of those judgment, there were various public sector undertaking which also got the registration under 12A, which were again then they were then that's why they bought so many amendments. And now the amendment has come to a place where even loan or borrowing, which as a professional can never think of as income, those have been taken as income now. They say you give low borrowings, whether those have been applied or not applied. So there has been a lot of litigation and there is a amendment.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
we are short of the time.
Yeah,
now,
please. Yeah.
Naveen, floor is yours. You invite the questions and take the answer from the learned speakers.
Okay, sir. Actually, the list of question is very long, sir. Is the CBDT instruction number 883 dated 24/9/75 still valid? That states that the investment of the consideration on the transfer of a capital asset in fixed deposit with the bank would be regarded as application as per section 11(1)(a).
Yes. So that circular is still valid. The amount, if any amount is invested in FDR, that circular has never been withdrawn, so that circular is still valid.
Just to give we should give some brief to that. What is that exactly? You see, the capital gain computation, sometimes there is also confusion with regard to how the sale of assets or capital gain on the assets has to be treated. In the case of charitable entities, if there is a sale of a capital asset, the full consideration, it is not like the normal computation of capital gain. It is here under, there is a separate section 11(1)(a) that the full net consideration has to be applied into a capital asset. Then only the capital gain on that sale of asset will be exempt. But there was a board circular, very old circular, which they mentioned, if fixed deposit, if the trust makes a fixed deposit, that also will be treated as capital asset. So that has not been withdrawn. So for the purpose of application against the capital asset, sale of capital asset, that circular is still valid. Correct, Rajesh? Right, sir, Pramodji, sir?
Yes, very correct, sir.
So
There is Calcutta High Court on this point. The Calcutta High Court judgment is also there.
Good.
One of my articles is going to be published in the CA magazine, in which this is covered actually.
Very good, sir.
Sir, I have a question on. I have a question on this capital gain matter, sir. Can I ask that?
Yeah, please ask. Yeah.
Yeah, as Akhil sir said.
High Court judgment, sir, on this point. Hindustan Welfare Trust.
Everyone, please keep yourself muted. Only please raise your hands one by one.
Yeah, myself, Aishwar, I want to speak about capital gain calculation. Sir, Akhil sir, I have a doubt, sir. For example, if my sale of capital gain, for example, sale of a capital asset, if I sold for 1 lakh and I purchased it for 80,000 in 2 years back or any time back, if I have not invested that 1 lakh in the new capital asset, whether the taxable amount will be 1 lakh or only 20,000?
No, your income, your taxable income will be 20,000 because there is a cost to that asset. Cost to asset is 80,000. Your sale proceed was 1 lakh. So your income will be 20,000. But if you invest full net consideration, then your income 20,000 will not become taxable. That is the law.
Yeah. Here I have to ask one thing. If I have already taken 80,000 in the previous year as application of income, now can I take only 20,000 as income in the current year, or 1 lakh I have to take?
I believe earlier, whenever it was allowed application, there has been no amendment in that. So cost of the asset will be allowed. Application is what for a separate purpose earlier. So that is for depreciation and other purposes. For quotation of capital gain, again your cost will be allowed. But if you're not applying to any new capital asset, your income will be taxable.
Yeah, as I already saw section 11, there it said if you have already claimed application of purchase of capital asset as application of income, it cannot be again claimed.
Sir, let us give chance to another.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Sir, I can do one thing. I can export all the questions in the end. I will send it to the speakers. They will replied, and right now, sir, I can take a couple of questions, as in.
Hi, Naveen,
Yes.
क्वेश्चन ले लो, जो भी है ना 15-20 मिनट एक्सटेंड हो जाएगा, that is not a problem.
No problem, no problem.
ओके, ठीक है, तो हम अभी क्वेश्चंस कर लेते हैं, ठीक है. एंड सर, और एक क्वेश्चन मैं चैट बॉक्स उठा लेता हूँ. द क्वेश्चन इज
शुरू से ले लो, शुरू से ले लो.
ओके.
एक क्वेश्चन था, मैंने पढ़ा था सर, कोई CSR कंट्रीब्यूशन दिया.
केपन ओल्ड ट्रस्ट.
Sir, I would like Naveen ji, please you take up all the queries in the chat box, so there will not be any duplication. And please do not allow any participant.
You go ahead, Naveen,
so there will not be any duplication.
ओके, ठीक है. Sir, Dr. CME meat shall be covered under general public utility or not? Dr. CME meat.
So what is the full form of this?
ठीक है, sir, we can skip the question. I will ask
so
participant. Okay,
sir, maybe sir, there is some conference of the doctors. That is what we can get.
Sir, let's take another question. If in old trust yoga was not in object clause, whether any expenditure on yoga promotion will be any other object of the general public utility?
No, if yoga was not covered, then it will be it will be the violation of the object of the trust. Because if in the earlier trust deed yoga was not there and the trust is carrying out the yoga activity, so it is violation of the provisions of the Income Tax Act that the amount has been spent towards objects other than object of the institution. So this will be violation, and expenditure will not be allowed as application of income.
Okay, sir.
So the full form of that is continuous medical need.
Okay.
So that is a doctor's continuous medical CP education, like our CP education.
Yes, yes. So that is a separate. If they have created it as a separate institution have been made by, so this is covered in the education activity.
Okay, sir. And sir, Sumanji has a question. If a sports club participate in different tournaments and earn some money as participating fees, winning prize, part of ticket selling price, and also some income from sponsorship, is it treated as a business income?
Yes, sports activity will be treated. This activity will be treated as a business income.
Sumit has one question. If the trust is doing a performance out of India and air tickets are purchased, if it will it amount to expenditure out of India, and whether 10B is applicable or not?
Spending of amount, purchase of ticket is not spending of amount out of India. If any of the amount has been spent out of India for out of which the public of other than India has been benefited, then it is application out of India. Purchase of air ticket is not spending out of India.
Okay. Okay, sir. And in case some assets are sold to company where trustees are interested and the proceeds of the property is not paid to the trust, how this is to be dealt in the audit report?
So this query is, please again repeat, you may repeat.
Yes, sir. In case some assets are sold to company where trustees are interested and the proceeds of the property is not paid to the trust, how this is to be dealt in the audit report?
So first of all, even if amount is not received, so whenever it is received, but if it is because you may postpone any income, if it is not received, then by way of furnishing form number 9A, you can postpone any income. But first of all, this income cannot be postponed, first of all. Then in the current year, it is violation of the provisions of section 13(1)(c) and 13(1)(d), because the amount has been spent towards the money has been spent towards the specified person. So if it is less than fair market value, the difference will become the income of the selling trust and institution. So first of all, we will have to see that it is sold not less than fair market value of that asset. So you can sell to the interested person, but that sale should not be less than the fair market value. So this thing has to be kept in mind.
Okay, sir. Sir, Gaurav Lalji has a question. There is no FC receipt, means foreign currency receipt, but earned only some interest from the balance lying in the FC bank account. Then which form has to be filed?
So if any income, if you are receiving any income from outside India, foreign FC, and you are having FCRA registration and income earned from outside India, income spent outside India, then only you are required to fill the form number 10B. But here you are receiving only the interest. So this is not your foreign income. In that case, you can furnish the form number 10BB. Sorry, you can furnish the form 10BB because you are not receiving any foreign income. Income from outside India is not here.
Only this you have to specify whether it is a foreign currency account or it is a bank account of approved under FCRA. It could be an Indian currency account approved under FCRA, then it will be normal form. But if it is a foreign currency account is allowed a foreign currency account, then it may become a different this thing.
Prasenjit ji has one question. So upar bhage ja rahe. In case of form 10DB, we have to give details regarding donation received during the year, that is PAN, amount of donation, etc. But in case of donations of small denomination, rupees 100, 500, 1000, how do we declare the donations in form 10DB where the PAN is available for these donees, for these small donations of rupees 100? And do we need to disclose the non-disclosure of these donations in form 10B or 10BB?
There is a specific column in the form number 10B and 10BB, the audit report, that they have mentioned. There we are required to mention the donations reported in 10BD and donation not reported in 10BD. So if the amount of small denomination are there and they have furnished you the PAN number, then you are compulsorily required to report those donations. If anyone has given you donation, but they have not furnished you form number, they have not given you PAN number, then you are not required to report those donations. For that, there is a separate column in 10B, that amount not reported in 10B or 10BB, or amount not reported in 10BD.
So important with regard to this is what amounts or what nature of transactions have to be reported in 10BD. So the date was May and then it was July. 10BD form is basically whosoever wants to claim a 80G deduction under his income tax returns. So those will have to give you details with regard to various particulars, PAN number, Aadhaar card, and other details. And maximum details furnished, then they will come under your different 26 AS. So those will be 80G will be available. If there are small donation 100, 200 which do not want to claim any 80G deductions, so they may not be reported in 110BD, but a reconciliation has to be reported in the income tax return and the audit report as well as. Only we have to take care that they are not taken as anonymous donation. So we should have some name, address, because there is a ceiling for anonymous donation. Again, anonymous donation under 115 BBC tax at the rate of 30%.
Okay. Sir, Anup sir has one question. He was also raising his hands also. If year after year on a continuous basis, our trust is engaged in GPU activity, which is incidental to its main object like Gita printing books, will there be any specified violation which may attract provisions of section 115 TD?
So the 115 TD is attracted only when any violation of the objects of the trust has been done. So in this, what is the violation?
Sir, खाली उन्होंने a trust engaged in GPU activity which is incidental to its main objects like Gita printing books. Will there be any specified violation which may attract? वो पूछ रहे हैं कि क्या इसमें कोई specified violation है?
अगर if they are not maintaining separate books of account, if they are not getting their accounts audited under the normal business law, then it is violation. If the object is not covered under the main objects now as per the amended law, then there will be a violation. Assessment
है,
is not as per 11.5. It is an advances to related party, there may be a violation. Advances to a specified person, there may be a violation.
Okay, sir. Dilip Chauhan ji has asked, for the financial year 22-23, no foreign contribution received, but registered under FCRA and gross receipts is less than rupees 5 crore. Which form is to be issued, whether 10B or 10BB?
10 BB less than this.
10 BB, yes, ठीक है sir. Whether 15% of donation out of 100% to other 12A registered trust have to be reported in clause 31, 11 or 12.
This 15% of donation is applicable for next year, not for this year, na? This 15%, when you are giving donation to various trusts, and automatically 15% of that will not be allowed as application, but that is applicable for next assessment year, not for 23-24. It is for 24-25. So for this year there is no impact.
Okay, sir. Abhinav Kumar ji was asking, various sports association like District Taekwondo Association affiliated with All India Taekwondo Federation of Government of India, but said association are not registered in society or trust. They are regularly getting donation. How can they be registered under 12AB? Sir, my question फिर से पढ़ूं?
Yes. No, it's okay. See, currently, as per the current income tax law, for obtaining registration, there has to be a written constitution. There has to be written trust, and which has to be registered. So they have to form either a society or a constitution, Section 8 company or 25 company or any work for any written instrument registered will only be allowed. Now, no unregistered trust or society are allowed to registration.
So I would like to interrupt. One question is, I think, repeatedly coming in the chat box, that the basic exemption limit of rupees 2.5 lakh is available to the trust. And the next question, which has not been asked here, that whether the slab rate applicable to individual will be applicable to the trust or institution or not. So from the assessment year 2023-24, the section 115 BBI has become applicable, and that section is stating that if any amount accumulated in excess of 15%, that will be liable for tax at the rate of 30%. And the utility and income tax software itself is asking for rate 30% of the tax, and without giving any basic exemption of rupees 2.5 lakh and without considering any tax rate applicable to the AOP. So tax rate of AOP is equal to the tax rate applicable to the individual. Section 164 subsection 2 of the Act says that if any of the benefit or profit has not been distributed amongst its members, then the tax rate applicable to the AOP will be applicable to any trust or institution registered and claiming exemption under section 11 and 12. But I think the income tax, when this act was drafted, when the section 115 BBI was drafted, the drafting people have forgotten the section 164 subsection 2. So this is the, I think, drafting error. So this error will cause us problem in form number 10B or 10BB and while furnishing the form number ITR 7. So this is a problem, and our all clients will, if say for example, they have received a donation of rupees 1 crore. They have spent 80 lakh rupees. So they can accumulate rupees 15 lakh. So remaining 5 lakh will be taxable at the rate of 30%. In my opinions, remaining 5 lakh would be applicable at the normal rate applicable to the individual, applicable to the AOP as per section 164 subsection 2. So until and unless any future clarification come from CBDT, any amendment in the Income Tax Act is made, we are bound to follow section 115 BBI. However, section 164 subsection 2 is there in the Act, but this is a drafting error. So we cannot do anything. The safe side is pay tax at the rate of 30% under 115 BBI.
Sir, 115 BBI start with notwithstanding anything in any other act, any other provision.
But section 164 subsection 2 has not said. So they have not excluded. They have 115 BBI say that notwithstanding anything contained in any other provision of the Act. But section 164 subsection 2 also says, and that is very great.
That applies in the current situation for the income coming out from 13, 10, and 11.
Sir, I would like to interrupt. Section 11 itself start with that the following income shall not be included. Following income shall be excluded from the total income of the trust. So what income shall be excluded from the total income? Say, for example, the total income of the trust is rupees 1 crore. Out of that, 15% accumulation will be excluded. 85% or less will be excluded. So if 15% is excluded, remaining 60% has been spent. So 60 and 15, 75% is spent. So remaining amount is my total income. So how it can become the accumulation of the 50 in excess of 15%? So section 11 itself start that following income out of the total income of the trust will be excluded. So if any amount is in excess of 15% or in which has not been spent up to 85%, that is total income of the trust. So that total income will go to the section 164 subsection 2. So that will not be covered under 115 BBI, and there under 115 BBI they have told that any accumulation in excess of 15%. I am telling that this is not my accumulation. I am not accumulating more than 15%. So remaining is my total income of the current year. So that will be liable for tax at the rate of applicable to AOP. So this is a very serious litigation. So I think the amendment will have in the 75% is spent. So remaining amount is like total income. So how it will become the accumulation of the 15 in excess of 15%? So I am not able to listen. I am not able to listen. You may put your query in the chat box, and Navinji or Pramod Himmasinkaji will prepare all the queries. Pramodji and Navinji will prepare all the queries. If we are unable to listen anyone, we will not. We do not want to skip any reply to any query.
And sir, abhi 10-15 questions baki hai.
Pramodji want on any next Saturday we will have any query session, and myself and Akhilji will be again available for discussion.
This
sir, we can have a help,
minimum slab rate.
We can have a help desk on this.
Is a very big query. This minimum slab rate is a very big query. At least on phone itself, we have received more than 500 phone calls.
Yes.
But it appears the, as Rajesh has correctly said, the intention of the income tax authorities while amending the law was either you have whatever receipt, 15% accumulation will be allowed without any form. Any other income you want, you file accumulation. So either you form 10, 9A, otherwise all other kind of income will be liable to tax at 30%. This appears to be the intention of income tax authorities, subject to other clauses and other things. So this clarification we will have to obtain, but this query has been very widely all over India. The query is there.
Yes.
Akhilji, I want to draw your attention about the tax rate. 247 ITR page number 1. There it is mentioned at what rate the tax the trust will be charged. That there they are the individual rate like tax is there, but this is subject to 115 BBI.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Up to 31st, up to last year, last assessment year, the slab rate, the utility, the software, the basic slab rate was available. Also, there were scrutiny orders where they used to allow that and only used to tax if there was a violation. They used to allow even minimum slab rate also. But now with this amendment this year for assessment year 23-24, it appears to be the intention of the income tax authorities.
Under section 115 BBI itself, they have mentioned two separate sub-clauses. One clause is the amount of income tax calculated at the rate of 30% on the specified income, and the amount of income tax with which the assessee would have been chargeable had the total income of the assessee been reduced by the aggregate of the specified income. So what is the income remaining after a specified income? So they are also telling that the normal tax rate is also applicable to trust. So what is the normal tax? What is our other income other than specified income? That is my normal income. So they are themselves. So otherwise they would not have introduced subclause 2 under section 115 BBI subsection 1. So this is a long litigation.
Akhil sir, abhi 10 to 15 questions or so
please,
should we
please.
take up the questions or?
No, we are here. जैसा बताएं मोरे जी, जैसे सर कहें।
नहीं सर, आप
कंटिन्यू करिए सर, मेंबर्स को बहुत
Sir,
प्रॉब्लम है।
one thing I would like to request here, sir. Even if we have taken up any query, I would request that kindly note down each and every query from the chat box. If you can save it, then we will. Even if we have answered, we would like to discuss it on any next webinar with all of you.
Yes, sir. Next Saturday also we should keep or Sunday or Saturday. What will be the convenient date?
We may keep it Sunday. We may keep it Sunday better. Sunday is
Okay,
better.
Sunday from 11 o'clock next Sunday.
Yes.
So we are keeping this. Okay.
Yes.
So sir, the sir. Sir,
rest of the queries you can take. Rest of the queries, Naveen, please take, and so that members have so many queries. Please take the queries.
Okay, sir. Sir, Himanshu ji has a question whether there is any specific requirement in Rule 17AA to maintain payments in electronic and other modes. If not, whether it is mandatory to report the same in Form 10 DB.
10 BT.
10 DB is not there.
10 BD.
10B, sorry, 10B. Sorry.
10B is there.
There is a Form 10B. It is asking whether it is electronic made or other than electronic mode. So they are already mentioning in that report.
Yes.
And definitely all the records now in the 17AA, as an auditor, we have to sign that those books of account, records, payment, corpus, accumulation, what's so not, everything has to be maintained. And even the cash flow, I think the most crux is now maintaining each year like receipt cash flow, and specifically for each kind of fund, like old corpus fund, new corpus fund, any new accumulation, how much is 50 accumulation, then where it has been utilized. Specifically, all funds have to be tagged by their receipt. It has become very important.
Yes, sir. Sir, the next question is from Mahesh Kishore Puriya ji. A federation which is registered under 12A has held a fair and exhibition in previous year and earned more than 5 crores, which is almost 90% of total income. TDS has been deducted under section 194C and 194IB. The federation is developing an institute for skill development. Whether the income earned from fair and exhibition will be taxable or not.
First of all, the skill development is whether it is covered under the main objects of the charitable purpose. So education, or whether it is covered in the education. If it is not covered in the education, then it's all the business income will be liable for tax, and there will be section 13 subsection 3 specifies that such income will be liable for tax at the normal provisions of the Income Tax Act.
There was a clarification when Honorable Chidambaram was the finance minister. There were again this dispute was there whether FICCI and whether all trade chamber are a charitable entity or whether they are trade entity. So then their clarification why the department that they are also part of the charitable entity. If they are doing any exhibition or any business activity, because they will be covered under other than other general activity, utility of purpose. So then accordingly we will have to see. They have to maintain separate books of account, get the audit done. So this was clarified by that time the finance minister, Honorable Finance Minister Chidambaram ji. They can get their circular and all the clarifications are there with regard to that.
Okay, sir. And sir, एक question जो continuous आ रहा है, sir, if a trust has a earlier granted registration of 12A and now a trust has provisional registration under subsection clause 12A1 AC1 for 5 years, then as in Form 10BB clause 10, there is a subclause displaying subclause 3 of clause AC of subsection 1 of 12A. Shall we have to take again final registration under this clause for 5 years?
There was, when this new scheme of registration under the new regime was implemented by the Income Tax Department, there was some mistake by the Income Tax CPC Bengaluru that they had, because if any of the trust which is already registered under 12AA in the old regime, then under the new regime they were to be granted registration for the 5 years. Even if that registration was a provisional registration, that should be deemed to have been a regular registration. So that they are not required to apply for renewal before expiry of the period of 6 months from the end of the period of 5 years.
Rajesh sir,
they are not again required to apply for registration for 5 years.
Rajesh sir, this is already clarified by the board.
Yes,
That
there
if
is immediately circular has come.
if existing trust is applying and they have been given provisional registration for the 5 year, they have clarified that it is a technical glitch. They don't have to do anything.
They have
already
issued a
given
circular.
the board circular.
They had issued a circular, yes.
Yeah, because it was COVID time, the certificate all were provisional registration, even though for 5 years. There was some problem.
Okay, sir. Next question is, sir, Education Society having 12A registration in 2018-19, but did not apply for renewal as amount is increased from rupees 1 to 5 CR. Now again applied and department given provisional registration. Is there any provision to get it corrected as permanent registration, or do we have to apply separately for permanent registration, and in which form?
If it was having 12A registration in 2018-19, it was for the lifetime. So under the new regime, it was only required to renew it. So it is not a provisional registration. I think the reply is same as per the earlier query.
Okay, sir.
18-19 registration was infinity. They were till it is withdrawn. So practically they could have applied. It was a provisional registration. So they got a provisional registration, which again must be for 5 years.
और यदि वो नहीं किए हैं तो सितंबर तक अलाउ है तो वो फाइल कर देवे।
Yes, 30th सितंबर तक वो अलाउ कर सकते हैं। अगर जिन्होंने भी किसी भी, even if any trust has not applied for the fresh registration in under section 12AB, they can apply up to 30th September 2023. Otherwise, all such trust or institution will attract section 115TD. So
ये क्वेश्चन सर चैट बॉक्स में था, चलो इसका भी आंसर हो गया।
So the date is extended only because 115TD has become applicable from the assessment year 2024-25.
Correct.
Because many of the trust has missed to apply in 12AB or a renewal of 1023.
Okay, sir. Sir, Bharaji has one question. If the investment in fixed deposit after being a capital asset application under 11(1)(a) as per instruction number 883 is matured after 1 year, the interest and principal amount of FD is utilized for donation or expenses as objects of the trust. In such case, is there any non-compliance with section 11(1)(a) later?
I think if you go through it, the principal amount of FDR they had invested and it was taken as capital asset, so their capital is exempt. So any interest earned on will be normal income, so it has to be utilized as normally only. So there's no issue on that.
And sir, I think most of the questions have answered. Sir, एक last question अपने यहाँ से ले लेते हैं. A question arises that if 30% is chargeable on the residual income after 15% accumulation under clause 1, then what income remains to be taxed at normal rate under clause 2? Clause 1 and 2 to section 115 BBI1.
So that will be covered under clause 2. Clause 2 of the 115 BBI1.
Okay, sir. And sir, we can keep another session for questions because most of the questions have been answered, barring a couple of them.
Naveen, okay.
Yes,
if anyone wants to raise any question, they can unmute and then they can ask the question. Any of the participants is requested to kindly raise hand. We will unmute, then they can ask the question. Rohitas Gupta.
Rohitas ji, do you want to ask anything, or I think I have answered his question from the chat box itself?
Now let's close this now. This is
okay.
In the 5 minutes, sir. In the next 5 minutes, we will be closing.
Next Sunday
I don't think there would be. Yes. Yeah, Anup ji, you have any question? Please ask.
मेरा क्वेश्चन अखिल जिंदल सर से है. Akhil sir, am I audible to you?
Yeah, of course, very loud.
Akhil sir, regarding this foreign remittances application overseas, like there was a provision in the schedule key you need to take permission from approval. What is the kind of approval we need for the application overseas?
No, you need to take a FCRA, na, foreign contribution regulatory application also.
नहीं, मेरा application नहीं है, मेरा inward remittance नहीं है sir, मेरी outward
Outward,
remittance.
so you have to take the approval from the CBDT. So
CBDT,
there
yeah.
is no specified format and there is no electronic. They have mentioned only that the approval from the CBDT has to be obtained.
And what if the no approval has been taken?
Then that amount will not be deemed to have been applied for the purpose of the objects of the trust.
No, there will be violation.
Violation.
Taken as violation under the income tax law, and your whole income can become tax. There have been many cases now in faceless that the faceless officer has verified there have been various expenditure abroad other than India, and there is a 11(1)(c) section is there. There is a 11(1)(c) section is there where any application made outside India is not allowed. If there is a violation, then your whole income becomes taxable. So one has to be very careful on this account. So I have seen many appeals I have filed for these cases. So one has to be very careful. You should not do without permission, and without if it is not covered under your object.
Thank you, sir.
Ramavtar Joshi. Ramavtar Joshi. बोलिए.
हाँ सर, ऐसा क्लॉज 3113 में ये लिखा है कि अगर इफ यू डोनेट टू एनी अदर पर्सन एक्सेप्ट person registered under 12A or 1023, that will be, the donation will be disallowed. Sir, every trust is not registered. If we make the contribution or donate to any person on other trust which is not registered under 12A, that will be disallowed.
No, sir. Please again raise your query, then your answer will become clear. Please raise your query.
Sir, उसमें फॉर्म के क्लॉज 31 सब क्लॉज 13 में लिखा है, if we make donation to a person which is not registered under section 12 or 1023, then the amount will be disallowed.
Yes. So please let me explain. The provision explains that if any of the amount, any of the accumulated amount, current years, there is no restriction on current year's income for giving donation to any other trust, first of all. If any of the accumulated amount is given as a donation to any other trust which is registered under 12A or 12AB or 1023C, then that amount will not be treated as an application. It means if you are giving any donation to any trust which is not registered under 12AB or which is not covered under 1023C, then such amount is not restricted because that income is already going to become taxable. Hence, if any of the trust is not having 11 section 12AB registration, that income is liable for tax in the hands of that trust. So there is no there is a reverse restriction that accumulated amount cannot be given as a donation to any other registered trust or institution. So if that trust is not registered under 12AB, then there is no restriction. You can give to any unregistered trust, but that will be taxable in the hands of that receiving trust.
शिव कुमार जी.
सर, एक ट्रस्ट रजिस्टर्ड है 12A में, किसी वजह से अगर वो ऑडिट नहीं करवा पा रहे हैं, तो क्या 1023C ट्रिपल एडी में रिटर्न फाइल कर सकते हैं? अगर कर सकते हैं तो सर नेक्स्ट ईयर क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा? क्या नेक्स्ट ईयर फिर 12A में हम 11 की एग्जम्पशन क्लेम कर सकते हैं?
If the receipt is not more than ₹5 crore, then for the purpose of 1023C Roman 3 AD, there is no requirement of audit. They are simply
trust is registered under section 12A.
12A.
Due to
if it is 12A, then they cannot. If it is registered under 12A, first of all, they will have to surrender the 12A registration. Then they can opt only for the 1023C.
It is very take 12A or 1023C. You cannot have both the boats. दो नावों में सवार नहीं हो सकते आप. Earlier it used to be like 1 year one used to take 1023, other year if it is better 11. Not like that.
One more question, sir. If during the year loan has been taken and some part of has been repaid, whether it will the loan repaid during the year will be taken as a application of income.
नहीं, अब तो इसका चेंज हो गया।
because
you समझ नहीं पाए क्वेश्चन।
because it can be treated as an application of income. This restriction is only for the subsequent year, because you have taken a loan of rupees 1 crore, you have spent rupees 1 crore, and during the same year, if you have repaid, it cannot be treated as application of income.
And first loan has been taken as income. Now there is so
Yes.
many. First take loan as income, then allowed it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir,
So
sir,
this
in
is okay.
sir, in form 10BB, serial number 21, income other than voluntary contribution derived from property held on the trust needs to be mentioned. Now, is this amount would be net of the expenses? So, say for example, if I'm deriving income of rent from property, house property, and repairs are done.
Gross income is to be there. Gross income is to be mentioned.
Gross income, not
Gross
the net one.
No, not gross.
Okay. Thank you.
रोशन लाल जी सिंगल।
अकॉर्डिंगली उसका 50% फिर आपको एक्यूमुलेशन मिलेगा, ग्रॉस दिखाएंगे तब। नेट दिखाएंगे तो यू विल बी लूजिंग
No, that is fine, but when you have to report the application,
no,
application also needs to be
Rajesh sir
reported
has
under
said
charitable, then where will you show it?
खर्चे को आप एप्लीकेशन में ले जाइए, इनकम जो ग्रॉस है उसको
नहीं, खर्चे में अभी तो एप्लीकेशन में सर कौन सा हेड में, मतलब वो तो अभी चैरिटेबल है या रिलीजियस है, उसी में स्पेसिफिक हेड में देना पड़ेगा ना, तो उसमें कहाँ डालेंगे उसको?
प्रमोद जी, इनकी क्वेरी है कि इनकम हैज टू बी कंप्यूटेड इन कमर्शियल सेंस बिफोर सब्जेक्ट टू एप्लीकेशन। सो रेंटल इनकम में रेंटल इनकम को जो अर्न करने के लिए खर्चा लगा हुआ है वो नेट ऑफ करके ही वहां पर आएगा, नहीं तो ये
if he is asking for that like house property income, then 30% standard deduction is available for house property.
नहीं, इनका कहना है रिपोर्टिंग, ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में जो रिपोर्ट करना है, ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में ग्रॉस अमाउंट रिपोर्ट करना है या आफ्टर एक्सपेंसेस। ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में तो आपको ट्रू एंड करेक्ट है, आपको तो ग्रॉस इनकम ही रिपोर्ट करना है। अभी ऑडिट रिपोर्ट की बात कर रहे हैं, है ना, रिटर्न की बात नहीं कर रहे आप, है ना।
आई एग्री विद जिंदल साहब, वो रिपोर्ट जो करनी है वो ग्रॉस अमाउंट रिपोर्ट, ग्रॉस अमाउंट।
अब ये ट्रू एंड करेक्ट याद रखिएगा, ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में ट्रू एंड करेक्ट याद रखना है।
नहीं सर, तो उसमें तब ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में जब एप्लीकेशन का देना पड़ेगा, रिलीजियस है या चैरिटेबल है, उसमें कितना कितना अमाउंट है, तो ये रिपेयर्स कहाँ से कहाँ डालना है?
वो भी हेड जो और हेड होंगे वो देख लेंगे हमेशा, हर साल जहां भी, मतलब एक्सपेंसेस के हेड तो रहते ही है ना, अदर एक्सपेंसेस में आएगा जहां भी आएगा, बिकॉज you are allowed to give your property on rent and earn income and apply for charitable purposes, वो तो allowed है।
Okay, thank you.
सर दिस ईयर वो एक्सपेंसेस के हेड नहीं है, दे हैव नॉट गिवन द हेड फॉर एक्सपेंसेस, ओनली स्पेसिफिक हेड है। एक्सपेंसेस के हेड्स जो पिछले साल रहते थे वो नहीं है इस बार।
नीतीश मोर
उसमें उन्होंने they have given application of income, they have given amount treated as him to have been applied, amount as application of income. Under that head you have to give the aggregate of amount of application of income.
रोशन लाल जी सिंगल।
हाँ जी,
रोशन लाल जी सिंगल, हाँ बोलिए।
One question, sir.
At the time of filing Form 10BD for assessment year 23-24, inadvertently in the assessment year was mentioned at assessment year 22-23. Hello.
Yes.
Sir.
हाँ बोलिए।
Sir, at the time of filing Form 10BD for assessment year 23-24, the assessment year was wrongly written as 22-23.
He's asking for the remedy.
Remedy, yes sir.
अब तो इस साल का रिवाइज फाइल करना पड़ेगा, इस साल का तो फाइल करना ही पड़ेगा ना, 23-24
का फाइल कर दें और 22-23 को रिवाइज करके जीरो कर दें वहां पे।
हाँ, वो जीरो को रिवाइज करके, करेक्ट,
वही एक ऑप्शन है।
आप एक्सपर्ट हो, देखो आपको मालूम है।
नहीं सर, आपसे
देखो ऑप्शन कैसा, इनकम टैक्स तो अलग अलग साल, एवरी ईयर इज अ सेपरेट ईयर। अब आपने इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न अगर पिछले साल का फाइल कर दिया तो क्या करोगे, इस साल तो भरना ही पड़ेगा ना आपको। That return for this year has to be filed anyway.
अच्छा सर, एक चीज है कि 80G का प्रोविजनल रजिस्ट्रेशन मिला for 3 years, न्यू रजिस्ट्रेशन था, अभी उसको फाइनल रजिस्ट्रेशन कैसे मिलेगा, क्योंकि अभी कोई ऑप्शन है नहीं।
अभी है 30 सितंबर तक यू कैन अप्लाई,
ऑप्शन है ना। अगर प्रोविजनल आपने अप्लाई करा है तो प्रोविजनल के बाद यू वर सपोज टू गेट कमिटमेंट ऑफ एक्टिविटी।
नहीं, अभी अप्लाई कर दी, फॉर्म
और
10
अप्लाई करना
AB।
था, और या बिफोर एक्सपायरी ऑफ 6 मंथ, अगर एक्टिविटी आपने कमेंस नहीं करा है तो बिफोर एक्सपायरी ऑफ दैट प्रोविजन रजिस्ट्रेशन आपको अप्लाई कर सकते हो। वो तो आपने नया रजिस्ट्रेशन लिया है ना।
80G के लिए सर कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है फाइल करने के लिए, अब देखिए।
अच्छा 80G नहीं लिया आपने, 12, अच्छा 80G का लिया आपने।
हाँ दोनों लिए हैं, 12A का तो फाइल कर दिया, 80G का फाइल नहीं हो रहा है, कोई
80G का
ऑप्शन
वो उन्होंने एक्सटेंशन करा है, एक्सटेंशन करा है उन्होंने सबके लिए।
लेकिन नहीं
30
सर,
सितंबर
कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है।
आप एप्लीकेशन लगा दीजिए, फिर बोर्ड में भेज दीजिए कंडोनेशन के लिए, एक एप्लीकेशन लगा के ना, जो
लगाए
कमिश्नर,
कैसे सर, उसमें ऑप्शन ही नहीं आ रहा है।
नहीं फिजिकल लगा दीजिए, कमिश्नर एग्जामिशन को एप्लीकेशन दे दीजिए, क्योंकि
Physical।
बहुत सारी जहां भी बहुत जगह कंडोनेशन बहुत हुआ है एग्जामिशन में, मैक्सिमम ऑडिट रिपोर्ट, रिटर्न्स और ये 11 और 12 एसी का सारा कंडोनेशन हुआ है। आप अपनी एप्लीकेशन दे, वो कंडोन कर देंगे, देन यू कैन फाइल इट। जो कमीशन एग्जामिशन है आपके, उनको आप कंडोनेशन के लिए दीजिए और बोर्ड में एक एप्लीकेशन दे दीजिए।
थैंक यू
तो
नारायण
स्पेसिफिक वो
तिब्रेवाल जी,
कंडोन कर दें। हाँ
थैंक यू सर।
काफी कंडोनेशन हुआ है इन पे।
ओके
नारायण तिब्रेवाल जी,
Thank you.
लास्ट क्वेश्चन नारायण तिब्रेवाल जी।
One last question. Whether advance for land purchase can be treated as
फाइल किया हुआ
application.
है, क्या नाम तुम्हारा?
Aishwar.
हाँ बोलिए बोलिए
Yes, sir,
बोलिए।
come.
So whether advance for land purchase can be treated as application of income.
You have an agreement है आपके पास?
Yes sir. Yes sir. We have an agreement.
Yes,
Because
if there is a registered agreement, then it can be treated as an application. It should be registered agreement, because as and when the sale deed is registered, that amount will be, if the sale deed is not registered, then the said amount will not be treated as. So even if in the subsequent year sale deed is registered, then that amount will be treated as application of income in the year in which you have made the payment.
Okay.
So the sale deed relate back to the date of payment of advance.
There have been many cases been allowed by the income tax department where advance for capital asset has been made, but if you ever registered deed for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So last question we can take if
कोई
last
भी
question.
ईश्वर जी काफी देर से बोलना चाह रहे हैं कुछ।
बोलो
If
बोलो।
you, ईश्वर जी, do you want to say something, because उनका काफी सारे questions भी था।
No, I have asked already question.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, got it.
Muting
नारायण
you
तिब्रेवाल जी।
continue. So sir, can we start with the closing remarks,
Yes,
because
yes, please.
अभी भी सर 150 लोग हैं जुड़े हुए, 350 से 150 at the peak of tax audit. And the best part was this is a non-CPE event. उसके बावजूद भी so many people have come, and it in itself is a very big statement about Rajesh sir and Akhil sir, who have explained the topic so
I
wonderfully.
think Girdhari Sharma ji is there, Vice President. So I may I request him to kindly offer heartful vote of thanks. In the morning of, because of connection, he couldn't join. So request him for vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Nitish ji. There is a connection problem still going on. Such a wonderful session by the eminent speakers Akhil Jindal sir and Rajesh Mehta sir. We are grateful for your kind presence and making the session so lively. आपने एक एक क्वेश्चन का उत्तर दिया और ट्रस्ट की बारीक को समझाइए, टैक्स के बारे में, फॉर्म्स के बारे में, और इतने सारे क्वेश्चंस आपने उत्तर इतने शांति से दिए. We are thankful sir. We are thankful for the participants. 350 plus participants थे. अभी भी लास्ट तक 150 आदमी, 250 आदमी है. मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ नवीन सिंघल को, इतने ढंग से इसने कोऑर्डिनेट किया, हिम्मत सिंह जी, नीतीश जी, and all the participants and speakers sir. Thanks a lot sir.
Nitesh sir is the man behind this entire news exchange, so thanks to him.
No. Nothing. We are working as a team. Everybody.
Thank you Nitesh जी, thank you. हमें कोलकाता का
एक सेशन और करेंगे ये सोच रहे हैं सर.
हमें इतना मीठा मिष्टी, दही और रसगुल्ला हमारे को आपने वर्चुअली टेस्ट करा दिया. इतने लोग आपके रहे साथ में हैं, तो that was nice. मतलब it is good for us. हमको भी अच्छा लगता है. Very, it is and enriching, because so many queries come. We are also enriched. We need to go through them and then see what is the right answer. That is very nice.
Thank you Nitesh ji, Pramod Himmat Singha ji, Girdhari Lal ji, Naveen Singhal ji, Suresh Kejriwal ji, and my dear friend Akhil ji. Thanks a lot to everyone, and thank you to each and every participant who spared a lot of time today on the Sunday. And with their queries, we could enrich our knowledge also, and we would certainly be ready to discuss in any future date whenever you find it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And thanks to our respected Direct Tax Committee Chairman Sanjay Agarwal ji, who also spared his valuable time to join us today.
Next Sunday, 11 o'clock.
Yes, sir. Yes.